Hey y'all, hi. So I'm really going for it with the fashion videos lately. I decided to just make some of the fashion videos that have been requested over and over again in the comments over the years. Those of you who watch me a lot know that this started as a beauty channel. This is primarily a beauty channel, but I like talking about fashion too. Overall, I'm just interested in the way that aesthetics impact our lives, and I'm leaning into that today with a video about personal style. I've been thinking about this concept. The thing that people have been requesting is to make a video or make videos about how to find your personal style. And when I really sat myself down to structure a video along these lines, I decided that the most effective way to start for me would be to think about what I wish I'd known back when I was in like my teens and early 20s. And I knew that I was interested in fashion. I knew that I got a lot of pleasure and joy out of clothing, but I just didn't have a pathway of any kind when it came to consciously and actively finding or creating a personal style for myself. There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of casting out blindly, a lot of only finding out that I didn't like something after I had bought it, a lot of wasted stuff, a lot of wasted money. So I was like, what would I say if I could go back in time and talk to my past self? What kind of guidance would I give her to maybe put her on a more direct and a more empowered path towards personal style? So that is how I structured this video. If you like it and if you happen to be new here, I really hope you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So if I could go back 15 or 20 years and talk to my late teens, early 20s self about forging personal style, the first step of 3 steps that I've written, the first step that I would give to her, I think it's probably going to sound kind of boring compared to what other people say about how to find your personal style. Step 1 is to understand your personal constraints when it comes to what you wear, your practical constraints. I think that now that I'm in my late 30s, I've come to understand my practical constraints, those that are personal to me, really well. They're almost like second nature. So when I'm clothes shopping, when I'm considering buying something, and something comes across my radar that doesn't fit my practical constraints, I can identify it immediately, say, oh, that won't work for me because of X reason, and it's off the table immediately. I think that in my late teens, early 20s, I was smart enough to list those constraints without going through all of the trial and error, at least not going through as much of it as I did go through. I just dove in head first without sitting back, taking a moment, and making this list. The impetuousness of youth, perhaps. So when I talk about practical constraints, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about my own and kind of give you an idea through that. A big one for me that I rarely share on this channel, I think maybe once or twice I've brought it up. I am a sweaty person. I sweat a lot. I can't believe this is what I'm launching the video with, but this is like actually the best example and the real core of the issue. I can't wear tops that show sweat, any color that changes visibly when it gets wet. So if you imagine like a piece of sage green t-shirt fabric and you drop a drop of water on it, you can immediately see that drop of water. It's darkened. It's made a dark spot. But if you have a piece of white t-shirt fabric and you drop a drop of water on it, you can't see it. And I learned this the hard way as a young person. The thing that I learned the hard way was that I should just cross everything that could possibly get me in that situation of having sweat stains show off of my list. It's one of my practical constraints. But instead, as a young person, I'd see other people wearing them and they wouldn't have sweat. So I would just keep buying them, wearing them, and then feeling like I had to keep my arms down all the time or put something over them or change them in the middle of the day. And it took me until my maybe mid to late 20s to just stop buying anything that was maybe going to give me that problem. So a similar constraint could be temperature sensitivity. If you're a person who is always too hot, for example, no matter what, really warm fabrics, for example, this top, an excellent example for today, it's made of merino wool. I know that I run cold, so I tend to err on the side of buying warmer clothing, extra warm clothing, and those things that are kind of in the middle, again, they get scratched off the list right away when I'm thinking about what I might buy. Another constraint is body type. So I'm quite tall, I'm 5'9". There's a whole bunch of lengths of skirts and shorts that just don't work for me because you will literally see my butt. I also have a significant hip dip on the side to that part of my body. There's a whole huge group of dress styles and pants styles that are just off the list of things that could contribute to my personal style because of that. preferences that result from your body type, those kinds of things go onto this list. Another huge category of practical concerns, lifestyle concerns. On the one hand, lifestyle concerns have to do with what kinds of activities you're engaged in every day in your life. So if your primary activities require casual clothing, then when you start putting together a personal style, there should be a really heavy emphasis on casual clothing. You should be thinking more about what kind of personal style can emerge through casual clothing than other kinds of clothing. So I think it can be actually really helpful to think about what percentage of your time is spent needing certain kinds of clothing. Other lifestyle adjacent things, a huge one, cleaning ability and willingness when it comes to clothing. How able are you to clean your clothes? How frequently do you clean them? How do you clean them? What are you willing to do? Like, to what lengths are you willing to go to clean your clothing? If all you ever do when it comes to cleaning your clothes is throw all your clothes into the washer and then throw all your clothes into the dryer, all your clothes should be clothes that are resilient in those circumstances, that can make it through the washer and can make it through the dryer. Everything else should be off your list. I remember in my early 20s, probably in the first professional or kind of semi-professional environment that I was in, I bought a bunch of clothes willy-nilly to fit myself into that professional environment without thinking at all about these other constraints, especially not thinking about this constraint of cleaning. Eventually, they all got dirty and had to be taken to the dry cleaner. A bunch of them were dry clean only. I took them to the dry cleaner and it was like $75. And I was just like, I can't be paying $75 every time I need to wash these clothes, like this small wardrobe of professional clothes that I carefully picked because, I mean, to say I was on a budget at that time is like an understatement. It's just, I absolutely could not afford to dry clean my clothes. And yet I had purchased all of these clothes that needed to be dry cleaned. And then there are also big obvious ones like the climate in which you live. That's especially a big one for shoes. This is something it took me a long time to realize. Shoes can, I think, ruin an outfit. And so if you live somewhere where certain kinds of shoes are absolutely necessary, like if you live in New York City and you walk everywhere, you're like walking all the time and you need really comfortable shoes all the time. If you live somewhere where it's really icy and snowy for a lot of the year and you have to basically wear snow boots most of the time, those kinds of climate constraints need to be the building blocks of your personal style, because if you start with them, you can build a personal style that includes beautiful shoes that fit with your style, that also work with your personal constraints, where everything is integrated and you don't end up ruining your outfits by wearing the practical shoes that you need and having them at complete cross purposes with everything else you're wearing. So that's just an example when it comes to climate. You might live somewhere hot, somewhere buggy, somewhere super sunny where you have to slather yourself with sunscreen all the time. You might need a coat all the time. All of those things go onto this list. And another big one for me, the last one I'll share with you, is comfort. What makes you comfortable and how important it is to be physically comfortable in your clothes. Some people don't mind being kind of bound and trussed up and waistbanded and sucked in. For some people, that's just the experience of wearing clothes. For some of us, I would say me included, clothes like that might seem really great when you're trying them on, especially if they look really great and you get them home and you never wear them because you want to be comfortable as much as you want to look good. So know what is your required level of comfort with your clothing and put that in place as one of your foundation stones of your personal style, and build a personal style that is integrated with that takes that into account, and that will always be serving you looks that allow you to feel physically comfortable. If you start with practical constraints, you can do that. If you have this list written down, if you clarify it really clearly for yourself in your head, you can pull it off effortlessly, and you can do it without wasting a bunch of time and money. And I think that there are other things, there are other practical constraints. Those are just the ones that I thought of off the top of my head when I was making notes for this video. But if I could go back and tell myself to take an organized approach, I would tell her step one is to make a clear list of personal constraints. And then, emboldened by that list, with that list in hand, I would have told her to go and gather inspiration in a concrete, mindful way, to gather inspiration somewhere and to make sure that that gathered inspiration aligned with the personal constraints. As an artistic person, as a person sensitive to aesthetics, and I think this is probably true of a lot of you out there watching me as well, I am always kind of gathering inspiration in my mind. So when I was a young person, I was already always gathering inspiration inspiration, but I was doing it in a haphazard, disorganized way. Again, a little bit of a subconscious way. I would see things, like I would see people wearing things and I would be like, I like that. And I would sort of file that away. Or I would be shopping, like I would be scrolling on a website and looking at the clothes there and thinking maybe that could work for me, and using that to kind of try inspiration, like try visuals or silhouettes on for size based on what was on offer in the shops. But I think by doing that second thing, by kind of letting shopping itself feed me inspiration, I think I was really letting myself be led down a bunch of paths that I might not have otherwise taken in pursuit of personal style if I had taken a more empowered approach. If I had gathered inspiration in a concrete way, in my own personal way, in a place that was separate from shopping. I really like Pinterest. I know that a lot of people also love using that function of Instagram where you can save images. And a lot of people just screenshot stuff and save it in a folder on their computer desktop. But whatever you do, by way of gathering inspiration, make it concrete. I make this suggestion for a couple of reasons. One is that it's much easier when you are saving things concretely to step back and assess them and ask yourself whether they fit your personal constraints. So if you have the list of personal constraints and then you start building this concrete inspo space, like this board, you can compare the two. You can sit down and be like, oh, it looks like I'm saving a bunch of silk dresses or a bunch of silk camis to my board, but I want to be able to put all of my clothes in the dryer. So even though they seem appealing to me, and even though I feel inspired by them, it's not actually practical to want to build my personal style around silk camis or containing silk camis, which is fine. And this is another thing I wish I could have said to my past self. You don't have to incorporate everything that you kind of like. There are so many qualities of outfits and people and garments in fashion that will light you up, that will make you think, oh, there's really something about that. It's so special. So many more will do that than you want or need to include in your personal style. That's what personal style is. It's like a picking and choosing, a culling, a sculpting. And by its nature, that kind of sculpting excludes things. And you end up, I have ended up over the years excluding lots of things that I love for their own sake, that I think are so wonderful, that I love seeing other people wear, and sometimes put them on and I feel great in a specific way in them. And in theory, in another life or in another lifestyle, or in this life, in this lifestyle, if I had just chosen a little bit of a different path for my personal style, I might buy that thing, I might wear that thing. But I ended up trimming it away from the personal style that I sculpted for myself because I was trying to create something that was cohesive and clear and bold and that I felt I could return to over and over again and would work for me with longevity. My personal style. If you're gathering inspiration on something like a Pinterest board, you can throw stuff on there with no compunction. You haven't spent any money. You haven't gotten a bunch of stuff into your house in order to learn the lesson that it doesn't align exactly with what you think you want for yourself. You can see it laid out before you and you can start to ask yourself questions, both about personal constraints and about what feels the most exciting. You can let things sit there over time and sort of marinate, revisit them, and make informed decisions over time about whether you really want those silhouettes or those fabrics or those colors to be part of your personal style. And then the third step in this 3-step process that I wish my past self had undertaken, the third step is to experiment, but to experiment with a pretty clear direction in mind. Now, I did experiment, right? Experiment was all that I did. This, what I'm telling you now, is my retroactive answer to the experimenting as the only guiding principle path that I did take. And when I say that, what I mean is that I would just go out like buying stuff. I would just be going out, trying stuff on, buying stuff without thinking about how it fit together with itself, without thinking about what kind of cohesive vibe I was trying to create. I was hoping to buy my way to a personal style item by item. So I would just buy one thing at a time that appealed to me. But as I said before, lots of things appeal to me. Again, as somebody sensitive to qualities of design, I'm somebody who can find most designed things appealing in one way or another. There are so many things things that have appeal. And at that time, because I wasn't sorting the wheat from the chaff beforehand. I wasn't deciding what I wanted for myself, which particular kind of delight I wanted for myself. I wasn't deciding that beforehand, but just going in and kind of talking myself into trying out anything that remotely delighted me. So a lot of things ended up not working together with each other. A lot of things ended up not working for my personal constraints, my lifestyle. Like I said, they would be too formal for my casual lifestyle. They would need to be dry cleaned when I really couldn't afford dry cleaning. They would show my underarm sweat. They would sit in my closet not being worn because they just weren't quite comfortable enough. Because I was buying things willy-nilly, doing trial and error one garment at a time, I ended up with all of that waste. What I wish I had done was experiment with a clear directive in mind, which is what I do now when I go shopping all of these years later. Periodically, I go through and add to my Pinterest board. I love going through and looking at my Pinterest board and just thinking, oh yeah, I've never really had an all-white outfit, like crisp white pants and a crisp white top. And that is totally something that fits with my personal style. And if I get them in fabrics that are natural fibers, that have longevity, that can be washed at home, and it's white so it doesn't show my underarm sweat, and they're comfortable enough, the garments are loose and comfortable enough that I'll want to wear them over and over again, that'll fit all of my personal constraints. I love looking at my Pinterest board, thinking thoughts like that, and then not obsessively searching, but just keeping an eye out for the kind of garments that might contribute to a look like that. That kind of keeping an eye out with a loose outline of what I am looking for to fit my personal style. That kind of keeping an eye out is what has scored me my most wonderful pieces of clothing, my most worn pieces of clothing. And ultimately, that is how I've built my personal style over the years, especially how I've built it in a way that's sustainable. So that I've ended up with a wardrobe of garments that I wear season after season and that don't get old to me and that don't feel like they need to be replaced either because they've fallen out of favor or because they've fallen apart. I'm also a huge, huge fan of trying things on in the store as much as you can. This is especially true if you're younger and there are things about your personal constraints that you just don't really know yet. Like you don't really know what silhouettes you like the most for your body type. You don't really know what kind of cuts make you feel the most physically comfortable and what your tolerance level is for things like tight waistbands or tight tops. You know, online shopping can be a real con in this way because when you are figuring it out, when you're just figuring out your personal style, and so you are engaged in this kind of trial and error, sometimes not knowing for sure can be the thing that tips the balance and causes you not to return the thing, even when you wouldn't have purchased it in store. So you buy something because you're kind of trying to find out if that silhouette might look good on you or if you might enjoy wearing that color. And then it arrives, it's not quite what you dreamed it would be and doesn't quite fit how you thought, or it looks good on you, but it's not so comfortable that you want to wear it all the time. And you dither and you just can't decide. And then you just keep it because of that little bit of labor involved in sending it back. And then you've spent money you wouldn't have spent and you've acquired an item that you wouldn't have acquired if you tried it on in the store. So I'm a huge fan of in-store try-ons. I would love to go back and tell my past self, just go shopping with the intent not to buy anything. Just try a bunch of stuff on and learn. Learn about what you like. For this same purpose, I'm a huge fan of designer consignment shops, thrift shops, places where there's just like a massive motley array of stuff that you can just try. And especially in the case of thrift shops, it might then not be so much of an investment to actually buy the piece and try integrating it into your wardrobe and see how it works. So experimenting with your lists in hand, your list of personal constraints and your list of inspiration, your curated, preconceived, pre-approved concept of the personal style that you think you might be headed towards, one that works for you both practically and aesthetically. Shopping with those lists in hand is the first part of step 3, the experimenting that I suggest. And then the last part is to do it in a bold way, to go for your inspiration. So you have those lists in hand, and then when you come across the, voluminous white trousers that you have on your Pinterest board, go for it. Don't let the little voice in your head that's like, oh, that's too dramatic for you. What will people think of you if you wear that? Like, don't let that little voice get to you. If what you've ended up saving to your concrete inspo board has a real point of view, a strong point of view, and it feels a little bit aspirational to you, like you'd like to dress like that, but it just feels kind of out of reach for you. As long as what you've saved aligns with your personal constraints, fits with your lifestyle, fits with what you're willing to wash, fits with what you feel comfortable in your body, with your body type and your body issues, sweating and needing to be comfortable. If it fits with all of those things, you can leap the gap. You can just go for it, like be bold and go for your inspiration. That's what it feels like to craft a personal style and then to take that final step of adopting the personal style, bringing it into your home, bringing it onto your body and embodying it. That's what it feels like. It feels a little bit like you get yourself right up to the edge and then you're like, should I step across? Like, can I step across? Can that really be me? What I'm telling you as part of step 3, which is to experiment with maybe the answer being yes to that, especially if you've been thoughtful about what will work for you in real life and what you think you might really want. Would that I had known, would that I had had this video to watch when I was younger. I think it would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of money for sure, and to be totally honest, a lot of awkwardness, a lot of awkward outfits. It's just nobody ever told me that you could go about building a personal style in a thoughtful way, in a systematic way, that you could actually take the bull by the horns and use your brain and your feelings and your sense of shape and color and beauty to actively build a personal style instead of just bumbling along and kind of eventually hoping that you embodied it. Nobody ever told me, and it took me a long time for me to figure that out on my own. Gosh, I hope that this has turned into a video worth publishing. Again, this is just my attempt to answer the call that I've heard from many of you. I think that I could take many different angles when it comes to talking about personal style. So if you'd like to see me take another angle and take another crack at this topic, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for being here. Thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate you. And I hope that you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world. I am working a little late today. Sadie really feels like it's playtime right now and not work time. Maybe she feels like it's snuggle time. I think she just feels like it's snuggle time. But Sadie, it's work time. In my recent video, How to Find Your Personal Style, I talked about the fact that for me, the first step towards finding your personal style is figuring out your practical constraints. I believe that the practical reality of your life should be the foundation of your personal style. And if you build your aesthetic on that foundation, you'll be able to dress quickly and easily and to dress beautifully in a way that is ideal for you on any given day of your life. Today, I'm going to do a deep dive into just one of the practical constraints that I mentioned in that video, the lifestyle constraint. In that video, I indicated that a stepping stone towards personal style is to figure out just how much of your life is spent in certain kinds of clothing. But how exactly can we do that? Like, how can we figure that out? I have some thoughts on that, and I'm gonna share them with you today. If you're new around here, I hope you like it, and I hope that you'll subscribe. My name is Hannah. I make videos about beauty and fashion. And of course, I'll link the video about personal style in the cards and in the description box in case you haven't seen it. Now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So when it comes to lifestyle appropriate clothing, to me, it's really actually an issue of formality. So whether you look or feel appropriately dressed for any given situation, it's primarily a question of how formal or informal your clothes are. I mean, there are places where a truly comprehensively lifestyle appropriate outfit means leaning into a very specific style choice or even a specific garment, like bohemian clothes at the music festival or scrubs if you're a doctor. But life circumstances that require such specific clothing are, one, relatively rare, and two, they're not hard to discern, right? So if you already are a doctor or you go to a lot of music festivals or both, you already know about needing a collection of scrubs and or a collection of bohemian clothes, and you probably already have them, and you don't need me to tell you about that in this video. The confusing part is curating a wardrobe that aligns with the rest of life, like the most of life. Going from home to the grocery store, maybe to school or to a workplace that has kind of a loosely defined dress code, to the party park with your kids, maybe to yoga or to work out, to social events, various different kinds of social events, and then back home to spend long hours at home, like by yourself or with your family. So many of us have lives like this. And for most of those lives, some clothes work for some of these settings and not others. And so many of us end up with wardrobes that are aligned lopsidedly with these lives. So we might have plenty of work clothes and plenty of clothes for yoga, but when it's time to go out to dinner and drinks with friends, you have nothing to wear. And you either feel underdressed in your activewear or weirdly like you look like you're going to work even though you're trying to go to dinner. Or we have plenty of clothes for social events, but always feel a little bit awkward dressing for work. Like our outfits aren't exactly inappropriate for the office, but they don't make us feel empowered and confident in that setting either. And variations on that theme. So here's my suggested method for realigning your wardrobe with your actual life. And I'm going to go through it. I'm going to do it with you as I share the method with you. Step 1 is to write a list of the most recurring situations in your life. So here's my list. It's, a little bit off the cuff. It might not be super precise, but here's a list that I came up with, just jotting it down for this video. My morning routines. This is before I get dressed, when I'm making and eating my breakfast and doing my morning meditation. Working from home on a day where my 2 tasks are writing work and filming videos. So that's a day where I'm going to be in front of the camera. I also have days where I'm working from home, but my 2 tasks are writing work and editing videos. So I'm working, but I don't have to be in front of the camera. Another recurring situation almost daily is that after work time where I'm at home cooking, relaxing with Joe, maybe doing some tasks around the house. I also exercise sometimes, usually walking or yoga. I run errands pretty regularly, grocery store, farmer's market, that kind of thing. I broke social events down into 2 categories. So there are the casual social events, like hanging out with my sister, going to a casual party. And then there are the fancier social events, like going to an upscale restaurant. I'm also a tango dancer, so I go out dancing tango at this point regularly. And then the last recurring situation on my list is sleeping. Of course, sometimes I do other things. For example, flying on an airplane isn't on this list. I try to include things that I do monthly, like absolutely every month without fail. And I didn't include things that I do scattered throughout the year, but maybe not as frequently as monthly. So step 2 is to take this list and estimate how many times per month you enter each one of these situations. So this is my list working from a 30-day month. My morning routine, I do that every morning. So that's 30 times a month. I work from home 5 days a week. So in a 4-week month, that's 20 days of entering a work situation. And I would say that I film videos about half of those days, and about half of them are non-filming days. So that means my work from home day where I'm in front of the camera, that's 10 times a month. Work from home day where I'm not in front of the camera, that's also 10 times a month. Most evenings I'm at home doing tasks, cooking, hanging out with Joe after work, but there are several days a month where we end up doing something else. So I estimate that I'm in that situation about 20 times a month. And the other 10 days, the evenings are taken up by some other kind of social event like tango or going out with my sister. I like to think that I exercise every other day. So I said that I enter an exercise situation about 15 days out of the month. In reality, it's probably a little bit fewer than that. That's fine. I usually have a tasks around the house period of time on Saturday and on Sunday. It's not always the whole day, but I'm usually entering that phase at least twice a weekend. So I said that I'm doing that 8 times a month. Similarly, I would say I run errands of some kind about twice a week. So that's 8 times a month, including visiting with my sister and her partner. I would say I enter a casual social situation about once a week. So that's 4 times a month. And I find myself going into a slightly fancier social situation about once a month. Tango dancing at this point, we're going out about 4 or 5 times a month. And then sleeping, of course, happens every evening. So that's 30 times in a 30-day month. So now I have a sense, a very clear sense of what I'm actually doing with my time most of the time. And if you're doing this yourself, if you're following along, long you have that clear sense for yourself too. So in order to make use of this information to build my wardrobe, I have to assign levels of formality to each one of these situations. So what are levels of formality, right? They'll definitely vary from person to person. You'll have to tailor it for yourself. But I think that a good starting place is to rank situations from 1 to 5. That's what I did. And here's what my 5 rankings look like. Level 1 is sleep and loungewear. So clothing that's only worn at home. Formality level 2 is activewear. So this is clothing that's only worn for exercise or extremely informal public situations like running errands. Formality level 3 is what I'm calling unpolished casual. For some people, activewear kind of seeps over into level 3. There might be some crossover there. The examples of garments that I wrote down to illustrate unpolished casual are flip-flops, visibly worn out clothing like old t-shirts, maybe sportswear like sport sneakers, sweatsuits, that kind of thing. I feel like jeans and a t-shirt can fall into unpolished casual if they're very casual garments. So that depends partly on the styling of the garment and also on how kind of fresh and well taken care of it is and how you've chosen to style it with the rest of your outfit. Level 4 of formality is what I've called polished casual. So I think jeans and a t-shirt can also fit into polished casual if they're polished jeans and a polished t-shirt, or if you've put them together, combined them with other garments in a way that makes the overall effect of the outfit feel like it's not actually that casual of an outfit, even though there are casual pieces in it. Other garment examples for polished casual are nice sweaters, well cared for garments like t-shirts, button-downs, trousers. I think day dresses tend to fall into this category. Fashion sneakers rather than sport sneakers, nice boots. And then level 5, my top level of formality is clothes that are clearly and unabashedly dressy clothes. So nicer, fancier dresses, blouses, button-downs with blazers, jackets, suits. I think dressy is a great word for this formality level. It really says it all. I'm leaving true formal wear, like gowns and tuxedos, off of this list because I don't have a recurring situation monthly that requires formal wear. And the other thing about my 5 levels of formality is that for me, because I work from home and I work for myself, I make my own dress code for work, basically. If you work somewhere that has a clearly defined dress code, that's kind of a level of formality that's between the levels that I outlined, or that's kind of its own thing, you might have to put in another level. It might have to have its own number. Maybe a number between polished casual and dressy that says office clothes or something, and for you, that might mean suits, or at the very least button-downs and trousers and certain kinds of shoes or something. Now it's starting to get really exciting. We have our list of recurring situations. We know how many times per month, roughly, each of those situations occurs. We have our 5 or 6 levels of formality, and now it's time to assign a level of formality to each of the recurring situations. This is also a little bit subjective, right? Some people like to look like a level 4 or maybe even a level 5 in every social situation. No matter how casual it is, no matter how good of friends you are, no matter what the nature of the restaurant is, some people prefer to look like a level 2 or 3 in any social situation, no matter what, unless they absolutely have to cross over into a level 4. So this isn't something that I can tell you. I can't tell you going out to dinner is always a level 4, hanging out at your friend's house is always a level 3. You know what I mean? I can't tell you. You have to decide for yourself. The important thing is that you go through and you think about what level of formality feels right for you and what you aspire to for every one of your recurring situations, and you match them up. So here's what I did. My morning routine, which happens 30 times a month, level 1, loungewear and sleepwear. When I'm working from home on a day where I'm filming or I'm going to be in front of the camera, that's a level 4 for me, polished casual. Working from home on a day where I'm not going to be in front of the camera, where I'm just writing and editing, that's usually a level 3 for me, unpolished casual. That time after dinner where I'm doing housework and cooking and hanging out with Joe around the house, I actually usually change into my level 1 clothing during that time. I will usually do like Mr. Rogers, like take off my work clothes, put on my loungewear to relax at home. So that's 20 times a month that I'm back to level 1 again during the day. Exercise 15 times a month. Obviously that's level 2. Activewear, tasks around the house day. That's usually level 3 for me. Running errands, like going to the grocery store, going to the farmer's market. I like to dress. I usually go to a level 4. I like to go out even just to run errands. I like to be in my polished casual outfits for that. And the same is true of casual social events. So just hanging out with friends, hanging out with family. I'm usually at a level 4. A nicer or fancier social event, level 5. Tango dancing, also level 5. And then of course for sleep, I'm in my pajamas, back to level 1. And now the magical step 4. I can find out roughly how many times each month I need to dress to a certain level of formality. So when I added everything together, I counted my 30 nights of sleeping in my pajamas together with my 30 mornings of doing my morning routine, because usually I wake up in the morning with my pajamas on, get out of bed, and I go about my morning routine in the pajamas that I slept in. So it's not like I'm having to put on another entire set of loungewear or sleepwear to do my morning routine. But I usually do put on a robe over my pajamas. I usually layer on an additional piece of loungewear. However, I just counted the 30 sleeping events and the 30 morning routine events as 30 rather than 60. Even so, even doing that, I still found that I enter a level 1 situation 50 times during the course of the month. 50 times a month, I'm reaching for sleepwear or loungewear. Level 2, which is activewear, 15 times a month. Level 3, unpolished casual, about 18 times a month. I'm entering a level 4 situation, polished casual, about 22 times a month. And I'm entering a situation that requires a formality level 5, the dressy level, about 6 times a month. So this is the nub, right? This is the precious information towards which we've been working this entire time. And at this point, the rest of the work is just to analyze what you've come up with and draw conclusions from that analysis. And of course, that will look different for you than it's going to look for me, but I'll talk you through what it looks like for me. So right off the bat, I'm spending a lot of time in my loungewear and sleepwear, and I'm seeing that when it comes to just getting dressed every day, like daily outfits, my most frequently occurring required formality level is level 4. Polished casual. So there should be in my wardrobe majority of sleepwear, loungewear, and polished casual clothes, which is actually true of my current wardrobe. But what I found actually parsing it, like actually doing the math, looking at the numbers, is that there's a significant number of times every month when I'm entering a situation where I want to be more casual, more comfortable than polished casual, like exercising, walking, doing stuff around the house, where I'm unprecious about my outfit, like a level 2 or a level 3. And this actually surprises me because when I think about my daily clothing requirements, I immediately think of level 4. I think of polished casual as being what I need. But statistically, realistically, I can see that a lot of the time, I only need activewear or unpolished casual clothes. And again, I feel like those are the two categories that are the closest to each other. And if they were combined, that would actually be the largest category, except for pajamas, but the largest daily wear category. It would outstrip polished casual. I'm gagged. And actually, this is one way in which my current wardrobe is not aligned with my lifestyle. I have way more level 4 clothing than I do level 3 and level 2 clothing. And it's kind of okay with me because what it means is that I often end up dressing up to a level 4 for a situation that would only technically require a level 2 or a level 3 of formality. So it's not as though it's a desperate problem that needs to be remedied, but I will definitely keep it in mind the next time I'm out shopping and I'm tempted to buy more level 4 clothing. I already have a lot of level 4 clothing and I don't actually wear it or need it as much as I think that I do. Another thing that surprises me looking at these numbers is that I'm wearing level 5 clothing, dressy clothing, 6 times a month. I tend to think of myself as not needing more dressy clothing. I'm like, I work from home, I work for myself. Even when I dress up for the camera, it's usually sort of a polished casual rather than a dressy. I curtail my desire for dressy clothing because I think it doesn't align with my lifestyle. Looking at the statistics, I actually wear dressy clothes regularly, especially dressy clothes that fit the requirements for tango. So they're stretchy enough for me to dance in them. And I know I used to make tango clothes for a living and I used to have just infinite access to everything, but I don't own that business anymore. And I actually didn't keep very much. I sort of just made a clean break. I only have a handful of pieces from the Poema clothing days. I have felt less and less compelled to keep those things and less of a reason to buy this kind of thing over the past 2 or even 3 years because we took a long break from dancing tango during the pandemic. So here I am dancing again, needing to get into dressy outfits 5 or 6 times a month. And when I look at this and I think about what it actually means logistically in reality to be entering a level 5 formality situation 6 times a month, and I think about how that doesn't align with my wardrobe, that actually checks out with my recent experience. I've been struggling to get dressed for tango, but I still have it in my head that I shouldn't be buying dressy clothes, that I don't need more dressy clothes. When will I ever wear those dressy clothes? I still kind of think that way. But the reality is that it would actually make sense for me to buy another tango dress or 2, or a pair of pants that I can dance in, or a top. That would make my wardrobe into a wardrobe that actually aligns better with the percentage of time that I spend doing the things that I do in my life. And when I realized this, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I was like, oh my gosh, but she's right. The chart is right. The numbers are right. And my last big takeaway from this exercise for myself is that it sweeps away any vestiges of guilt that I might have had over my vast wardrobe of different kinds of bathrobes, bed jackets, and house coats, my luscious collection of print fresh pajamas, and my Skims cotton rib sleepwear. And some of my other loungewear, like that incredibly expensive Anina Bing sweatshirt that I wear all the time. I don't just sleep in my pajamas. I also wear them for an hour or 2 every morning as I'm going through my morning routine. And I usually layer them with other kinds of loungewear. And then I usually change into some kind of loungewear at the end of the workday and spend more time around the house in that. I can see very clearly that I spend more hours of my day in my loungewear and sleepwear than I do with any other kind of clothing on my body by a long stretch. So I'm glad that I've allowed myself to collect loungewear and sleepwear that feels stylish and sturdy and comfortable and makes me feel like my best self, rather than just settling for like old, torn, and stained clothing that is too gross to wear in public. And there have been times in my life where I felt like I was being too indulgent or like I have too much of that kind of stuff. This chart makes it very clear that it aligns. It aligns with my needs and with my lifestyle. So step 6, turn your conclusions into an actionable list. Here's my actionable list. I'm going to think twice before buying more level 4 clothing. I'm going to allow myself to acquire a piece or 2 into the level 2 or level 3 of formality if I come across them. I'm going to actively pursue more level 5 clothing for my wardrobe. And I'm not going to feel bad about having so many robes and pajamas. It makes total sense for me. I don't need more. I have plenty of that kind of thing. I'm not going to run out and buy more, but I'm not going to feel shame about having such a robust collection of loungewear. So that's it. That's the video. And if you're feeling a little high and dry, let me just quickly explain that the aesthetic guidelines for each of these levels, each of your 5 or 6 levels, that's up to you. That's a separate task not covered in this video. So further steps in the process would be visualizing what you want your level 4 outfits to look like in terms of fabrics, colors, silhouettes, overall style. And I recommend my other video about how to build your personal style to help with this, especially the recommendation about collecting inspiration images in a concrete place like Pinterest. One way to go about this could be to build a different Pinterest board for each of your 5 levels of formality. And in doing that, you might find out that you have a really clear sense of what your style will manifest as when you're at the level 3, but you've never really thought about or concretely visualized how your style would manifest at level 4 of formality or level 5 of formality. And that might be why you keep buying overly casual clothes and why you chronically feel underdressed at work, because you understand what your personal style looks like at a level 3 and you haven't yet really conceived of it for yourself at a level 4 or 5. But again, this video was just a deep dive into one of the practical constraints, kind of getting all of your ducks in a row in terms of the percentage of time that you spend doing the various activities and entering the various situations that require these various levels of formality. And from there, you can proceed to build the rest of your vision and then build the rest of your wardrobe just with a lot more knowledge and a more realistic sense of what you need. I hope that some people do this and that it will help. I couldn't believe, I've been thinking about this for a long time. When I actually took myself through the paces of it, it blew my mind. I really exposed the cracks in my wardrobe and the weaknesses in my understanding of my actual day-to-day life and my experience and what I need and how I interact with my wardrobe. So I encourage you to give it a try. Definitely let me know if you do it and if it enlightens you in the way that it has enlightened me. No matter what, though, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I appreciate you so much for being here, for being subscribed, for liking and commenting. You all in the comments, you make my day every day. I've gotten a lot of requests recently for this type of video, kind of like a hands-on discussion of the nitty-gritty of the decision-making that happens during actual shopping time when you're trying to build a wardrobe of fewer, nicer things. I can think of multiple ways to approach this topic, so this likely won't be the last time I cover it. But to start, I thought that I would kind of welcome you inside my personal clothes shopping brain and talk you through my exact thinking around 3 different spring-summer wardrobe staples. Of course, my own exact preferences are totally influenced by my practical constraints and my aesthetic, as I covered in my video about how to find your personal style, and I'll link that in the cards and in the description box in case you'd like to watch it. But my hope is that hearing me talk through my reasoning in a super detailed way will light up some areas of consideration that might not have occurred to you, even if you and I have very different wardrobe needs and styles. As always, if you enjoy this and you're watching as an unsubscribed person, gasp, how dare you? I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Before I start in with the 3 items, I'm just going to quickly explain what I mean in this video by the term investment piece. To me, an investment piece for my wardrobe is something that is relatively expensive for me, and that is relative to my personal budget for clothes in a given season or in a given month. So it's something that's expensive for me, but that's worth the expense because I judge that I will wear it a lot and for many years. So the actual price range of an investment piece isn't set. If your clothing budget is $50, then a $40 shirt could be an investment piece, especially if you're choosing it instead of 4 $10 shirts from Amazon Fashion that'll be unraveling by the second wash. If your clothing budget is a few $100s for a given season, then a $40 shirt during that season is going to feel like a lower stakes decision to you, but a $200 shirt, that's going to have to be an investment piece. Some people are out there shopping for brand new designer stuff in a world where an investment shoe, for example, is like an $800 Gucci loafer. Not me, but my point is that the concept isn't fixed. It's relative to your personal budget, and you'll have to scale up and down accordingly. So, item number 1, a button-down shirt. A button-down shirt is a great investment piece because it never goes out of style. Tailoring generally doesn't. So if some version of a tailored shirt fits with your aesthetic and your personal constraints, it could be a good candidate for a high-quality piece that you add to your wardrobe. For me, when I'm considering adding a button-down to my spring and summer wardrobe, and I'm considering spending what is for me a significant chunk of my budget on it, these are the considerations. The first consideration is fabric. I want the shirt to be very lightweight. I generally prefer a button-down to have long sleeves, so if I'm going to be happily reaching for it even through the hottest days of summer, it is got to be so lightweight that it will still feel cool, even with the long sleeves. So basically the only fabrics on the table are cotton voile, silk cotton blends, and maybe a very lightweight linen, cotton poplin, or cotton lawn. Polyester is completely off the table. It doesn't breathe. Rayon, also known as viscose, is a very cool and breathable fabric, but it is also off the table for me. And that is because I don't like the look and feel of it. To me, it feels cheap, especially over time. And as someone who worked with fabrics for many years, I happen to know that it is cheap. So if you're considering an $80 blouse made of woven viscose and you're considering another $80 blouse made of a silk cotton blend, well, you're getting much better value with that silk cotton blouse because the fabric itself is worth more. Rayon also wrinkles like crazy, but it's in kind of a disappointing, sloppy way, as opposed to linen and light cotton gauzes, which wrinkle in an elegant way. And as much as I love real silk, I've moved away from 100% silk over the years. It is beautiful, but in a blouse, it will often, on me, show sweat because even if it's a solid black or solid white, the sheen of the fabric will change when it gets damp. If you're not as sweaty as I am, though, silk is a lovely option for a summer blouse. The next consideration is style and fit. For a button down, I've learned the hard way that I want to make sure that I really, really like the style of the collar. For a long time, I had this lovely blouse from Doen, the Jane blouse. It fit all of my other constraints. It was made from really, really light cotton voile, super floaty, semi-sheer, so beautiful. But it had this sort of gathered ribbon tape edge collar. I can't describe it, but I'll put in a picture. I like to wear button-downs open at the neck rather than buttoned all the way up, and I just never liked the silhouette of that collar on me. I knew that I didn't like it right from the beginning, but I was just hoping that all of the blouse's other positive qualities would override my dislike of the collar. But what happened instead was that my dislike of the collar overrode all of the other positive qualities of the blouse. I was disappointed every time I wore it, and I recently gave it away. So for a blouse, the collar is important. I also want to make sure that I like the fit. And for me, that means an oversized blouse. I love an oversized shirt in general, but this is also a comfort consideration in hot weather. Fitted tops are beautiful, but especially in a fabric that has no give, may be okay for a piece that's not an investment piece. But if it's going to be an investment piece, then I'm going to be wearing it a lot and wearing it for many years. For a blouse in the summer, it's got to be oversized. The next consideration is color and print. For me, the more money I'm investing in a piece, the more reliably timeless it should be. I might take a risk on a wild print or an unusual color in a blouse if I find it in a consignment shop or on super sale somewhere. But if I'm spending more and justifying that spending by hoping that it will last for several years, this button down is likely going to be solid white or solid black. Those are colors that don't show sweat, always look chic, won't become wearisome to me, and will always be easily combinable with the other garments in my wardrobe. White is a bit riskier because it can stain, but I'm becoming more and more willing over time to take that risk. It just means being committed to tearing off the blouse and going into damage control mode if anything ever spills on it. Black is going to get the most wear because it can be worn into any situation without that concern. If you really truly know yourself and you know your aesthetic, you will probably be able to recognize a print or a color that will be as timeless for you as a solid black blouse will be for me. But if you're kind of not sure about something or hoping that it will grow on you, if you're there in the shop thinking, this could work, rather than thinking, I am confident that this is perfect and will be timeless, then it's probably not something to invest in. And the last consideration, care instructions. I always regret buying something dry clean only, unless I know the fabric and I plan to flaunt the instructions from the very beginning and wash it myself. Many incredibly beautiful and finely made blouses can be washed in water and hung up to dry on a hanger. Some have structural elements that make that unwise and are marked as dry clean only for that reason. If you're a regular dry cleaner, then that'll be fine with you. But if you're not, not, and I'm not, don't overlook that detail. Adjacent to care instructions or to washing the piece, I always make sure to imagine what the blouse will look like when it's been washed and dried, especially if I don't plan to iron it, which I generally don't. It will likely be more relaxed, maybe a little bit wrinkled, much more lived in than it looks like in the store or in the images online. Most of us have enough experiences with washing garments to be able to look at something when you're holding it in the store and visualize what it's going to look like after it's been washed and dried. But we forget it. We forget to do that. We skip that step and we get tricked into thinking that it's going to look brand new forever. But I will stand there visualizing the washed and dried version of the thing that I'm considering buying. And I will say to myself, that is what I'm investing in. In a past video about making good shopping decisions, which I'll also link in the cards in the description box, in that video I called this longevity visualization. Visualizing what a piece will look like 1 month after I buy it, and then visualizing what it will look like and where it will be 1 year after I buy it helps so much to clarify whether it is worth the investment for me. So, adding all of this together, a good spring-summer wardrobe investment piece for me would be an oversized button-down shirt with a traditional pointed collar in a very lightweight cotton or silk cotton fabric, solid black or white, that can be washed in water. And here's the thing, if I'm really going to spend quite a lot of my budget on a single item of clothing, it can't have any of those qualities missing. It can't be most of the way there. Even if I really, really love the silhouette and the color and the styling and the brand, and it says that it can be machine washed, and it looks like perfection, and suddenly my mind is bursting with fantasy images of myself wearing the blouse and looking amazing. If it's that viscose fabric, that woven rayon, it's an automatic no. All of the boxes must be checked, or I know that I will regret it down the line. Just like with the Jane blouse, with all of the boxes except for the collar checked, I regretted it down the line, and I ended up giving it away. I will seek out some examples. I will link them down in the description box below so that you can see that having such a long list of requirements doesn't make it impossible to find things. Being this strict with myself, holding myself to that checklist and going through this process clarifies so much for me in shopping situations. I think that if I came across a truly perfect shirt for me, checking all of the boxes, and it was a bit on the pricey side for me, an investment piece, if I weren't thinking this way, I might worry that solid white or solid black is too boring for an investment piece. I might feel in the moment like, if I'm going to spend extra money on something, shouldn't it be a little bit extra exciting, different? Shouldn't it kind of make a splash? But over time, I've learned that I feel the most grateful to my past self for investing in things that are slightly understated and guaranteed to integrate seamlessly into my life. Because those are the pieces that get the most wear. They get worn so much that they are truly what defines my personal style. And that's where I want my investment to go. Okay, item number 2, talking through garment number 2, a summer dress. A great summer dress is an awesome investment piece, but not all that much differs from the process with the blouse. So I'll kind of speed through it just to kind of reinforce the important points from a slightly different perspective. Fabric. Depending on the cut, I feel like I can get away with a slightly heavier fabric in a summer dress. For me, linen and linen blends like silk and linen or cotton linen, those fabrics are ideal for a dress. Polyester and rayon are out for the same reasons. Silk could actually be back on the table for a dress as long as it's a sturdy, raw silk, something like that. If it's a delicate silk, or again, a silk that's likely to show sweat stains easily, then to me that makes it a less good candidate for long-term investment and vigorous wear. For dresses, stretchy fabrics are tempting. Sometimes a stretchy fabric is a good choice for a dress, but stretchy fabrics are going to be less sturdy over time than wovens. Maybe good for 1 or 2 summers, but not great for 10 summers, like a really well-made linen dress would be. I have one summer dress that was an investment piece that is made out of a jersey knit fabric. It's a really stiff, strong, like super sturdy cotton jersey. So it's not changing shape over time, and washing it isn't weakening the fibers the way that it would with like a buttery, slinky, gooey modal or bamboo jersey knit dress. I know that for a lot of people, stretch is a must, but for me, it's something that I will wear because it can be really lovely if I find it on eBay or at a consignment shop and the price is really good, or if it's on sale somewhere. But I am less likely to invest in stretchy summer dresses for the long term. Style and fit for dresses. An investment dress, I feel, has absolutely got to have my neckline or one of my necklines. So ask yourself, what is your neckline? Your best neckline. And also, if you wear a bra, this is going to be something that works well with the kind of bra that you prefer to wear. For me, deep V necklines, I mean, that's what I'm wearing today. The V is so deep, it's like off the edge of the camera. This is my preferred neckline. I think my number 2 neckline is probably like a crew neck with tank, muscle, or t-shirt sleeves. That's a neckline that I really like in especially a more casual summer dress. It has also got to be your length. For me, that means midi and maxi length dresses. If I'm tempted by a pricey dress with a neckline that isn't one of my necklines, but it's tempting me, it's making me want to buy it because it's great in other ways, I will often think, but don't I want an investment piece to have a deep plunge neckline? Don't I want an investment dress to have my best neckline? Thinking that way usually helps me get some perspective on the dress that I'm considering buying. Or I guess the way to say it is that thinking about the ideal often helps me realize that the thing that I'm considering isn't actually as ideal as I might have been trying to convince myself that it is. Color and print. So for me, color and print are a bit more on the table with dresses than they are with blouses. This is for a few reasons. One is that the dress carries the entire outfit. It doesn't have to be combined with other pieces. So even in a more complex print or a stronger color, the outfit that I have on when I wear the dress will still maintain the simplicity of a single print or a single color from head to toe. But if it's an investment, then I want to make sure that that color is totally in my personal palette. So if it's not black, white, or cream, it's going to be taupe, burgundy, a warm brown, or a cherry red. If it's a print, I want to be sure that it's understated enough to be timeless for me, and that all of the colors of the print work with my accessories, like my shoes and my bags. Care instructions. For me, it's the same as the tops. All of my dresses can be washed in cold water and hung up on hangers to dry. And again, I'll put some examples in the description box below of dresses that fit my personal requirements in case this is making you curious, not things that I'm necessarily planning to buy. You know, a handful of dresses that could work. All right, example item number 3, the wild card, sandals. Investment shoes can be tough. Shoes get worn out. I'm hard on shoes. And you know, they're touching the ground, they're getting stuff on them, they're at the mercy of the weather. They also support your entire body when you're walking, so comfort and ergonomics are really important, way more than with other kinds of accessories and with garments. Summer shoes, sandals, are particularly difficult investment pieces in my experience because if you spend a lot on a wardrobe staple, you want it to last for several years. But lots of sandals are, quite frankly, flimsy. Also, in addition to being at the mercy of the elements on their outsides, sandals are open. They're like open concept shoes. So the elements get into them as well. They can get dirty or damp on the inside. And on top of all of that, we wear them without socks, most of us. So if you have sweaty or smelly feet, then there's no barrier between that and the material of the shoes. And they're at the mercy of that too. I've gone through many summers where all of my sandals that are new that summer, were in tatters by the end of that one summer. But I don't want my stuff to be like that. I don't want to be throwing out all my sandals at the end of the summer and then buying a whole bunch of new ones at the beginning of the next summer. So how can one narrow down the world of sandals to find a pair that will last for multiple years? First up, materials. They have to be sturdy, not suede, not that soft, gooey leather. Leather sandals have to be that thick, sturdy, almost chunky leather, the super smooth surface. That kind of leather surface that is relatively water resistant and can be wiped clean with a damp cloth. Fabric for sandals can actually have pretty good longevity as long as the color pattern of the fabric isn't something that's going to show dirt, like get super dingy quickly, because fabric is harder to clean. Fabric on shoes is harder to clean. Synthetic leathers can have pretty good longevity as long as they're high quality. The danger with synthetic leathers is that the surface will buckle, crack, and peel after a short time, and whether or not they do that depends on their quality. I also always pay attention to the footbed of the sandal that I'm considering. A suede footbed in a pale color will become visibly dirty and dingy in a short amount of time and be impossible to clean. I always think about whether or not sweat will stain the footbed, whether or not it can be wiped clean, and longevity visualization, what it will look like after a few months of wear. The next consideration is structure. Once again, sturdiness really matters for me. How thick are the straps? How many straps are there? Are they going to stretch out or break? How are they joined to the sole of the sandal? Also the sole. Is it just a flat piece of rubber? So many sandals just have a flat piece of rubber as the base. What are the treads like underneath the sandal? If I walk a lot, are they going to get worn down and slippery? Some sandals are super slippery just right off the bat and don't really have any treads, just like a slick, thin piece of rubber. That might be okay for walking short distances or for certain office environments, or, if it's not an investment, if it's just something that's not making a huge dent in your budget and you're okay with the frivolity of that. But it's tough for me to invest in a sandal like that because its flimsiness makes it less versatile. Ergonomics are also an important element of structure. A flat piece of rubber doesn't support the foot at all. And again, this makes the shoe not necessarily always a no, but it makes it kind of a frivolity to me. Not a good tool, and therefore not a great investment. If I'm going to invest in a shoe, it's important to me that it be made by a company that takes foot health at least somewhat into consideration. Maybe not as their main claim to fame, but as part of the overall concept of shoe design. Basically, is it just a shoe-shaped thing, or is it actually meant for feet, like designed with feet in mind? And lastly, the last consideration when it comes to sandals, aesthetics. For me, it's a lot about versatility in an accessory. Does it go with my main summer bag? Does it work with pants, shorts, and dresses? And on its own merits, do I love the design enough that I'll be excited to wear this pair of shoes every single time? And I'll tell you, the absolute best summer investment shoes that I've ever bought are the Loop sandals from United Nude. And you can see, I'll put a picture up. They check all of my boxes. The straps are very thick, sturdy leather, and they don't show dirt or wear. They are easy to clean, including the footbed. The soles are strong, sturdy plastic with rubber grips on the bottom. They're hardy. They're great in inclement weather. I've never gotten them totally soaked, but I don't worry if it's drizzling a little bit when I'm wearing them. They support the foot, and in spite of their slightly surprising appearance, they are very comfortable. Visually, they go with absolutely everything, every outfit, and they can be dressed up or dressed down. And y'all, I think I have owned these shoes for 10 years. 10 years, and I've worn them through every summer. I bought them full price in the United Nude store that used to be in New York. I don't think it's there anymore. At the time, I made a pilgrimage to the store because I wanted a pair of United Nude shoes. And at the time, they were I think by far, the most expensive pair of shoes I had ever bought. They may still be the most expensive pair of shoes I've ever bought, but they turned out to be the best shoe purchase that I've ever made. Of course, the one feature of those United Nude shoes that makes them less than fully versatile is that they're heels. So last year, I decided I wanted to buy some investment sandals that are flat-soled, kind of as a foil to those United Nude sandals. I applied all the lessons that I learned from those and found a sandal that is arguably in many ways like the casual and flat-soled version of those United Nude sandals. They're the fully monochromatic leather Birkenstocks in black. I've only had them for 1 year so far, but I wore them a lot last summer. They are absolutely as good as new, and I expect them to last just as long as the United Nude sandals have lasted for all the same reasons. So that is very specifically my thinking around 3 different spring-summer wardrobe staples when it comes to choosing an investment piece. Again, I'll link as many examples down below as I can scrape together. And again, I hope that this is applicable. Even if you don't wear solid black and solid white, maybe you really love rayon and you don't mind the way that it looks over time. A lot of people do. You might have totally different preferences, but I think that the point of this video is like the nature of the thoughtfulness, and that is what people have been asking me to make videos about. Thank you again for being here. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for watching, subscribing, liking the videos, commenting on the videos, etc., etc., etc. I'm finally filming this highly requested video about clothes that work for a changing body. The requests have come on the heels of my many videos about fashion that really center longevity and versatility in my personal wardrobe value system. I talk a lot about wanting my clothes to be investment pieces or wear forever pieces, and being willing to spend a bit more and buy fewer, nicer things in order to build that type of closet. A lot of us want this, but also our bodies change over time. For some of us, it's just a slow process of minor evolution as we age. For some of us, it's a huge, permanent, and sometimes sudden transformation, maybe from illness or injury. For some of us, it's a constant seesaw of fluctuations over the course of an entire life. I've personally experienced bouts of some weight gain and weight loss for various reasons since I was a teen. I'm currently bigger all over than I've ever been in my entire life because of pregnancy, and I really don't know what the future has in store for the size and shape of my body. So, how do you curate a forever wardrobe when your body isn't necessarily a forever body? I've been thinking about this a lot, and today I have a handful of specific, practical, actionable ideas to share, all of which are widely applicable. If you're new and you like this, definitely check out my fashion videos playlist, which I'll link down below and in the cards. And maybe consider subscribing. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So the first concept on my list is maybe the one that seems the most obvious at the outset, but I have some specific suggestions about it that might be a little less obvious. The idea here, the first idea, is to look for garments with girth versatility. The most obvious version of this, the thought that springs immediately to mind, is the stretchy waistband. Waistbands that have a pretty wide range in terms of how far they stretch and have kind of a soft stretch so that they won't become increasingly less comfortable as they stretch more. But in my mind, a stretchy waistband alone won't help you when you're building a wardrobe of forever pieces. For a really beautiful garment to be versatile and long-lasting because of this quality, it's also key that the fabric that flows from the waistband in any direction be generous and accommodating. So in practical terms, that translates to garments that have a fit and flow silhouette on which the fit portion is secured by a softly stretchy elastic. And indeed, when I started gaining weight over this past winter, the pants that held out the longest, and some of them I'm still wearing, were pants like this. Cotton harem pants with ruched waistbands, my Linen Fox Palazzo pants, the Linen Fox Clementine pant. Pants from the brand Ruscha held out for a pretty long time. I'll link all of that below, and I'll link several versions of this type of thing in the description box down below. The fit and flow idea doesn't just apply to pants either. Some dresses come in this silhouette with generous flowy fabric on the top and on the bottom, and a soft elastic binding at the waist. The key is that the flow part has enough room to accommodate change, and that the fit part has enough stretch and enough bounce back to accommodate change. I've gotten a lot of mileage myself out of some thrift shop and vintage dresses that happen to have this silhouette, but again, I'll track down a few currently available options and link them. So girth versatility can come in this obvious form, the form of stretchy waistbands, but it can also come in another form that I absolutely love, which is the wrap silhouette. One of my absolute favorite clothing acquisitions this year was the Ozma Dance Wrap top. It's made out of raw silk jersey. So beautiful. So it has a soft drape and a slight stretch that helps it mold to the figure however it's worn. But it is not that. It is the wrap design of this top that makes it so incredibly versatile. I am several inches bigger around here than I was, and this top just fits beautifully. And I know that it will still fit just as beautifully if I go back to being smaller. It doesn't have to stretch. The fabric doesn't have to stretch to adjust, which would maybe make it strained when I'm at my biggest or saggy when I'm at my smallest. But instead of that, I can adjust the actual fit, the girth of the entire garment when I tie it on so that it fits perfectly no matter what. Wrap dresses can function in the same way as long as they have enough material. Really, as long as they're true wrap dresses instead of like a faux wrap design. I think of the iconic Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress, a beautiful investment piece for a work wardrobe if you have an ever-changing body. And again, I think that this silhouette is versatile in the most polished way, in the way that has the most longevity, when it's not being required for the fabric itself to stretch dramatically, but rather it's the design of the garment that has, again, girth versatility, that's adjustable. And then a third type of garment that has incredible natural girth versatility is a bias cut skirt or dress. When a drapey woven fabric is hanging on the bias, meaning diagonally, so that the warp and weft of the fibers are this way rather than this way, rather than being horizontally and vertically aligned. Then the garment has this incredible natural ability to expand and adjust that keeps the garment skimming over the body at an enormous range of sizes. Slip dresses and slip skirts are almost always cut on the bias. I have a vintage slip skirt that I got at a thrift shop for just a couple of dollars this year. I've been wearing it for months now, and I can't believe that it still fits me. The waistband has some elastic in it, so that's important, but its real superpower is the bias cut because it doesn't just keep fitting, it keeps looking good on me the way that it fits. Luckily, the market is flooded with these right now because they're very on trend. We have a glut of choices. I've been lusting after the Jenny Kane slip dresses, maybe an investment piece for next year for me. But there are options at all price points and lots of things like this available in thrift shops and secondhand as well. You just have to make sure that the place where it is binding, so the straps and neckline on a dress and the waistband on a skirt, you have to make sure that that measurement is loose enough or stretchy enough not to limit you. But when it comes to the rest of it, it will accommodate dramatically and keep looking and feeling like the right size even as you change. So those are all of my suggestions for girth versatility. Stretchy waistbands, fit and flow, wrap silhouettes, and bias cut skirts and dresses. Overarching concept number 2 for these versatile wardrobe staples is drape. Look for fabrics that drape elegantly no matter what is inside them. So relaxed wovens like linen and raw silk instead of stiff or starchy wovens like poplin and cotton lawn. If you become a bit smaller and some of your button-down shirts become a bit oversized, an oversized button-down in a fabric with a fluid drape is going to look so much better than an oversized button-down in a fabric with a stiff drape. Likewise, if the drape is fluid, when you're filling it out a bit more, a fluid fabric will handle your curves much better than a stiff fabric will. This is another case in which I think stretch is not all it's cracked up to be. There are a lot of tailored shirts on the market made of stretch cotton poplin. And yes, that will accommodate a little bit, maybe like a size or a half size. But if it becomes palpably too small, it will be so uncomfortable. And if it becomes palpably too big, it will truly look wrong. A well-cut shirt in a drapey fabric can handle so much more change and still look good. My two best personal examples for drape as the key element in longevity of a garment are these. The Ozma Billy dress, which is not bias cut, not a wrap silhouette, not fit and flow, so does not have classic girth versatility, is probably the most worn garment in my wardrobe right now. It just drapes beautifully over the body no matter what. And because of that drape, it's going to look gorgeous even if I go back to being a size 6 or 8 someday. If that happens, the armholes might be a little bit lower, the neckline might drop a little bit lower, but the drape of the fabric will cause the shape of the dress to adjust so that it doesn't look wrong. And the second example is this. I found this amazing Eileen Fisher shirt at a thrift shop. I think I figured out that it's the Eileen Fisher handkerchief linen shirt. That's like the technical name. The one that I found in the shop was white and in size large. It fits beautifully right now, and I can just tell that I'll be wearing it forever, even if it becomes slightly oversized or even quite oversized on me, or if I gain more weight someday and fill it out more. So beautiful, so versatile. I'm thinking about buying it in black as well someday. That's on my long-term wish list. If it was the same shirt but in like a crisp cotton shirting, which Eileen Fisher does make, it would still be a really nice shirt. It would just have much narrower limits. So we have girth versatility, we have drape, and my third and maybe most fun suggestion is to look for texture. Textured fabrics like crinkle cotton, pleats, and plissé have a lot of structural versatility, meaning that they can expand and contract quite a bit without the fibers of the fabrics themselves straining when they're expanded or drooping when they're contracted. And garments designed with textured fabrics like these, they often have a kind of intentional volume that helps the garment to keep its character and the integrity of its drama, even when it's fitting a variety of bodies or fitting the same body in a variety of ways. Some months ago, I found this pair of pleated silk cotton pants at a consignment shop. They're from a brand I had never heard of. I think the brand is called Greasus. Greasus? I'll track it down. I'll link it. But these pants have been amazing to wear as my body has changed shape. The waistband is elastic, which is important, but these pants are much more versatile even than other elastic waisted pants because the pleats are so accommodating. Really, it's that they look polished. The pleats, so the whole garment looks polished and intentional no matter how it fits. I've also recently become aware of this incredibly innovative brand called Petite Pli, which originally designed a fabric that expands because they wanted to make kids' clothes that would grow with the kid. They did that, and now they're just starting to branch out into adult clothing. And you can see that texture is the main functioning principle here. Of course, there's Issey Miyake's famous line of pleated clothing, pleats please. If you're into super high-end clothes with a slightly avant-garde twist, that is worth checking out. And on the other end, COS did a bunch of pleated and plissé stuff this season, which I will also link. Crinkle cotton and other crinkle fabrics, but I really love crinkle cotton. Crinkle cotton has maybe a slightly less dramatic capacity to expand than full-on pleats, but it also might come in more versatile pieces and be more breathable. One drawback of plissé is that it tends to be a synthetic fabric. Not all the time, but most of the time. Crinkle cotton is a subtler way to take advantage of the versatility of texture. Some crinkle cotton is really actually quite expanding, like chaotic accordion in all directions. Some of it's more of just a slight surface texture. But either way, my experience is that the intentional volume of a fabric surface just helps a garment look and feel that much more like it's fitting right, even if the particulars of how it sits on your frame have changed. So those are my 3 suggestions for today. Garments with various kinds of girth versatility, garments with a fluid drape, and garments with intentional texture all have potential to be reliable cornerstones in a forever wardrobe, even though, honestly, nobody's body stays the same. But this was just my first crack at this topic. I might revisit it if I have more ideas, and of course, I can't wait to see what you have to contribute in the comments on this one. Years ago, when my channel was really new, I got a comment that said, "Can you make a video about how to be elegant?" And at the time, I just laughed. I thought it was a nice compliment to be nominated for something like that, but I didn't take it seriously as a video suggestion. However, I have never forgotten that comment, largely because the question of human elegance is kind of a profound one. It's reductive and ableist to think that elegance is something that's purely physical. But if it's not just about the way you move your body, then what is it? And if you aspire to be elegant, what approach can you take? After literal years of thinking about it, I'm finally ready to share some thoughts. 3 elements of elegance that I think can work for everyone. And so without further ado, let's get into the meat of the video. Okay, so 3 ways to be elegant in order from shallowest to deepest, kind of, and also in order from easiest to hardest. My first tip is, I would say, the most cosmetic, and that is to really take a moment to thoughtfully optimize your own ease when you're putting yourself together to go out for the day. Meaning, make choices about what you wear and what you carry with you that really prioritize your ease and your comfort. If you're comfortable in your skin and you find your belongings easy to manage, you will more easily access your elegance. This could look different for different people. This will look different for different people, but here are a couple of possibilities as to what it could mean practically. 1, don't carry stuff with you that you don't need, even down to the tiniest thing. I find it a useful practice to unpack my handbag when I get home from an errand or when I get home at the end of the day. I'll take out my wallet, my keys, my phone, my Kindle, my sunglasses, and put them all away in designated places. I'll also take out my makeup bag and put each piece of makeup away in its spot in my vanity. Then when I'm getting ready to go out the next time, I'll only put the things that I need that day into the bag I'm carrying that day. And that means that I'm only taking the makeup items that I need for touch-ups on that day. I mean, I aspire to do this, right? This is an example. And I would say I achieve it maybe 75% of the time. But even just doing it 75% of the time, even just aspiring to it, means that my handbags don't become overstuffed, bottomless receptacles. And it's much, much easier for me to manage my stuff and myself when I'm out and about on any given day. If you genuinely need a lot of stuff for your day, my suggestion is to carry a large bag so that it easily accommodates all of your stuff instead of being stuffed to the brim. Optimizing your comfort and your ease could also look like taking a moment to realistically assess the weather and the shape of your day when choosing things like footwear and outerwear. I mean, this actually starts when you buy your footwear and outerwear, as I discussed in my video about how to build your personal style based on a foundation of practical realities about your life. I will, of course, link that video so you can go watch it if you want to see it. But if you're going to be walking a lot on a certain day, don't wear shoes that aren't broken in, no matter how cute they are, no matter how tempting it seems. If it's going to be rainy, but also you might get kind of hot, you might need layers, but where are you going to put the layers that you remove over the course of the day? You might need a bigger bag so that your bag doesn't end up overstuffed and unwieldy when you take off your sweater, or maybe you opt for a thinner sweater that folds down compactly and fits easily into your smaller bag, etc., etc. You get my drift. Foreseeing these small logistical difficulties and solving them before you leave the house can be the entire difference between a day of awkward stuff juggling and blisters and a day of general ease and confidence. It's a way of taking care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself. Just creates the space so that you can move through your tasks and through your day more calmly. If you aren't used to this kind of forethought, it might take a bit of getting used to, and it also takes a little bit of time. But if you decide to do it, you can do it. Okay, that was the easy one. That was the fluff. And now we're digging in deeper. My second suggestion for people who want to be elegant is to focus on the person you are with. So what does this mean? It means when you are with someone, at lunch with a friend, for example, see if you can quiet your own inner chatter and let go of your personal conversation agenda and really pay attention to that person and be receptive to what they are doing and saying. Interior monologues and constant social self-monitoring take a lot of energy. And if you can let go of them when you're with your friend, you might find that you suddenly have a lot of energy left over. If you aren't used to it, it's a radical act and very exciting to use that leftover energy to focus on the other person. So you're listening without interrupting. You're patient and comfortable during gaps or silences in the conversation. Your mind is actively engaged in trying to fully understand what the other person might be trying to express. And you aren't checking your phone. Your phone doesn't exist to you. You don't know her. There are lots of opportunities to practice this. Family meal times, conversations at work, even brief public interactions, like with the grocery checker or with your mail person. It's a matter of fully shifting your focus from yourself onto the other person. And the effect, if you can do it, and I'm not saying that I am an expert at any of these things, I aspire to all of these, but from the little that I've dabbled, the bit that I've managed to do this, I can tell you the effect is amazing. This kind of focus actually creates a calming effect because it gives the other person or the other people the sense that you have time for them. So it kind of opens up this spaciousness between you, and it makes the other person feel unrushed and unpressured. When you are the person from whom this sense of ease and relaxation is issuing, you become undeniably elegant to others. Now, for many people, consciously focusing on the other person does translate directly to certain physical qualities, like a warm, firm handshake when you first meet or a warm, firm hug, increased eye contact during conversation. These are all sparklingly elegant qualities, and it's worth paying attention to them and fostering them if you can. But some of those physical displays of focus and care might be difficult or impossible. Not everyone can use eye contact, for example, as a way of being present to another person. And that's okay. This kind of presence won't look the same in everyone. But no matter what, if you make an effort to be focused on the other person, that effort will come through and the other person will feel it. No matter what you are like, there will always be a palpable difference between the version of you who's paying full attention to your companion and the version of you who is only paying half attention. And no matter what it looks like in you, consciously remembering to pay full attention to your companion or your companions will always tap into your capacity to project calm, spaciousness, and patience. And tapping into those is part of how you tap into your innate elegance. All right, elegant quality number 3 is non-reactivity, the big one. You might have encountered the concept of non-reactivity if you've done any kind of mindfulness training, meditation, or learned about Buddhism. It also comes up in some methods of trauma processing and anxiety treatment and has a place in Western psychology as far as I understand it. Now, I'm not an expert in any of those things, and I won't pretend to be, but I have come to believe that non-reactivity is one of the most elegant qualities that a person can exhibit. And since elegance is the topic of this video, I'm going to give you a brief, simplified, and probably somewhat pedestrian explanation of non-reactivity in my own words. When you practice non-reactivity, you allow some time to pass in the moment before you take action on what has just happened or what is happening. So to simplify it extremely, it's a practice of stillness or of doing nothing right at those moments in life when you feel the most pressure to do something instantly. To me, the most perfect example is not rushing to pick something up right after you drop it on the ground. And I don't mean leave it there for an hour. It's a difference of seconds. When you're in a highly reactive state and you accidentally drop something, like your chapstick, for example, you leap to pick it up as fast as possible, even if your hands are full of other things, making it harder for you to bend over and harder for you to pick the thing up. Dropping something doesn't have to make you flustered or cause awkwardness and rushing. It's the false urgency to pick up the thing immediately that causes those vibes, awkwardness, fluster, along with a sense of shame, kind of, because trying to pick the thing up as fast as possible kind of makes it feel like you're trying to erase the fact that you dropped it, like trying to make it like it didn't happen. But it did happen. And in a state of non-reactivity, you recognize that the dropped chapstick isn't an emergency, and you simply allow it to be dropped for another 5 or 10 seconds while you deal with whatever else is in your hands. Then, when you're totally ready to do so, you bend over at a slower pace using a body position that's the most comfortable and the least stressful for you, and easily, elegantly pick up the dropped item. It's so common for people to exhibit a kind of subtle physical and energetic freak out when they drop a small thing, that being with someone who drops something and does not react this way, who allows some time to pass in the moment before picking it up, is actually quite striking. Basically, not freaking out is an extremely elegant behavior. Other examples of non-reactivity are when there's a pause in conversation, not rushing to say something, but rather sitting back and allowing a few seconds to pass and seeing what happens. That's one of the hardest ones for me. When you see something surprising or distressing, or you hear unwelcome news, not gasping or jumping or saying something like, "What?" or "Oh no," but rather allowing a few moments to pass in stillness. When you feel the impulse to check your phone, even though you have no real reason to check it, no need, catching yourself in the act, waiting and allowing a few moments to pass before you give in to the impulse, so that when you do reach for your phone, if you choose to do so, it's an active choice instead of a reaction to the impulse. And you might choose to not touch your phone and just look out the bus window and watch the scenery go by, or again, redirect your focus and attention to the person who's with you. When you have a strong emotion, waiting several seconds or even minutes before you do something about it. I learned something amazing from my brilliant friend and mentor, Julia Frodal, which is that strong emotions only last about a minute. 60 to 90 seconds, I think, is what she said. And Julia talked about how, of course, if you fight an emotion as it's happening to you, or if you kind of continue to egg it on, or you draw it out by continuing to tell yourself about it, kind of, then you amplify it, you keep it going, and it can stay with you for much longer. But if you're practicing non-reactivity, you only have to sit with a strong emotion for a minute or two, not poking at it or fighting with it or acting on it in any way. It's just a minute or two before it will have passed through you. And again, I learned this from Julia. She is a teacher of this kind of thing, and I'll link her as a resource down below. Now, of course, this is harder than it sounds, especially that last one. Practicing non-reactivity inside of yourself with respect to your own strong emotions, that's the most difficult version of this practice. And I can't teach you how to do it in a 15-minute YouTube video about elegance. So again, I'll put some resources down below, including the links to Julia's classes. But you might be able to make a start on non-reactivity just knowing about it. You might be able to make a start with little things like a dropped pencil, a silence in the conversation, a piece of unexpected news, a loud noise, an outburst from another person. And of course, it's not a matter of total indifference. Being entirely indifferent, not caring about anything that has happened is not, in my experience, very elegant behavior. But non-reactivity in the service of care, letting a few moments pass so that when you do act, you can do it gently, deliberately, unashamedly, thoughtfully. That is, to me, the height of elegance. So that's it. 3 ways to be elegant. Planning for your own ease and comfort, focusing on the person you're with, and practicing non-reactivity. And I think it's worth repeating here at the end that in my experience, checking your phone for no real reason sucks the power out of all 3 of these practices. So if they all sound impossible to you, then spending less time looking at your phone screen might actually be your starting place for elegance. I tend to think, after all of these years, that elegance is somewhat a matter of taking back your time. But I'll keep thinking about it. And maybe in another 5 years, I'll be back with another take on this topic. For now, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you aren't subscribed and checking out some of my other videos. I've been thinking about how I put together outfits, and I've realized that internally I have this system where I separate my outfits into 4 categories according to silhouette. This system really helps me because for each piece of my clothing, I know which of the 4 silhouette groups it has the potential to serve. Most items of clothing can work to create more than one silhouette depending on what they're paired with. So this system really helps me to mix and match my wardrobe staples, get really good use out of my investment pieces, and it also helps me make good decisions when I'm shopping. Today, I'm going to share the system with you, going over the silhouettes one at a time and telling you what I think makes each one work. And if you're a new viewer and you like it, I hope you'll consider subscribing. My name is Hannah Louise Poston. I love thinking about aesthetics, and I make fashion and beauty content here on YouTube. And now, let's get into the meat of this video. Okay, so the first silhouette is one of my favorites, maybe actually my favorite, my number 1 out of the 4 that I'm going to share with you. The first one is tight on top, loose on bottom. This one is pretty easy to execute, it's pretty straightforward, and it aligns with traditional styling advice. But here are a few things that make this silhouette really sing for me. One is high-waisted pants. This can also work with low-waisted pants. You can have a tight top with a loose bottom half of your outfit with a low rise bottom half of your outfit too. It's just in that case, you're revealing more of your top half basically. So the balance between loose and tight, there's just more that's tight proportionally. That can, again, totally work. It might actually be better for some people, but I personally love the drama of a loose pant that falls from the natural waist. And when you're wearing something tight on top, the drama of that bottom half is really shown to its best effect. Another strategy for making this silhouette successful is to go with a long-sleeved top, particularly a long-sleeved turtleneck top. This is especially a great starting place if you're interested in trying this silhouette, if you want to branch out, but you're not usually comfortable wearing tight tops or revealing tops for one reason or another. A fitted long sleeve turtleneck gives you that sleekness on top, that chic sleekness that can help to balance out a loose or oversized bottom half of your outfit. But it does that without being revealing in any other way besides that sleekness. It does it without showing a lot of skin, essentially. And I like this turtleneck in particular because it's fitted without being tight. It's that body skimming fit. Now, I'm demonstrating this silhouette with polished casual clothing because that's my preferred level of formality. This is how I dress most of the time. But you can totally construct this silhouette at any level of formality. Unpolished casual, active wear, even formal wear. And of course, at every level of formality, there are dresses in this silhouette as well. I love this silhouette because it's very sensual to me. A sleek or fitted top helps me feel composed, even sexy sometimes. sometimes. It shows elegant lines and projects confidence. But in loose or oversized pants, I feel free and unfettered. And I find there's even a sense of fun there sometimes, and definitely a sense of ease in a loose, flowy bottom half of my outfit. So that balance works particularly well for me. Again, one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And silhouette number 2 is the exact opposite. Loose on top, tight on bottom. Again, pretty straightforward, pretty simple to execute because it aligns with traditional styling advice that says if you're wearing something oversized, like a big chunky sweater, you should balance it out with something slim on bottom, like a fitted pair of pants, leggings, or a slim pencil skirt, something like that. My advice for this one is to pay attention to the length of the top. So especially if I'm wearing leggings on the bottom, I like the top, the oversized top, to be quite oversized, long enough to cover my entire hip area and to cover my bottom. This lily silk sweater is ideal, especially with this fold over neck, which really telegraphs drama. And that's one of the things that I like about a chunky oversized garment. It's also super soft, even though it's 100% wool. As you can see, I'm also wearing it today. I basically haven't stopped wearing this outfit since I filmed the B-roll for this video a few days ago. So for loose on top, tight on bottom, I personally like an oversized top that's really quite oversized, that's intentionally dramatic. But something that is loose but also cropped can also work for this silhouette. A loose but cropped top works especially well if your tight on bottom garment is a slim pair of pants rather than a pair of leggings, even just a pair of regular jeans. For me, if my loose top is cropped, I aim to have it touching or just covering the waistband of the pants or the skirt that I'm wearing. If my top is long and loose, dramatically oversized, I try to have it quite long, completely covering my hips. I personally find that this silhouette is usually slightly less formal, although that could also be how I end up executing it with what's in my wardrobe. It's freeing in its own way, and I don't know, leggings always lend a kind of dancerly feel to an outfit, kind of dancer off duty. But this silhouette can be executed in quite a polished way, like a beautiful tunic with slim work pants, or an oversized, like a tunic length button-down shirt for work. And just like the first one, it can also be done in a grungier way, a more casual way. It can also be something more streetwear. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Now we're getting to the good stuff, because these last two are the slightly less easy silhouettes that might take more strategizing. Let's talk about tight on top, tight on bottom. Scary for me. I know that for some people, this is maybe the one that you're the most comfortable with. But for me, I think tight on top, tight on bottom, I think scary. But the thing is, this can look so great as long as you are comfortable in it. And I actually kind of mean physically as well as psychologically comfortable. Comfort is really important because if you feel good, you inhabit your body in a natural way, and you move in a way that really sells the clothing. So here are some tips for that from my experience. My first tip is to make sure that the fabrics are good quality and that they fit well instead of straining across your form. With tight clothing, the materials are really on show, and it doesn't have to be skin tight. It can be something body skimming, again, like this fine wool turtleneck. Another tip is that making it monochromatic can really help if you're just branching out into this silhouette, because it keeps a long line down the body. Of course, all black is the easiest and a great starting place if you're feeling nervous about this choice. Styling with statement pieces can really help support this silhouette and make you feel less naked in it if you're not used to it. It's a great backdrop for jewelry, for example. I'd also style it with a strong shoe, like a heel or a boot, or a heeled boot, which is what I did. And the best trick, I think, if you want to try this but you're worried about feeling naked in it, is to layer it underneath something open, like a draped coat or a shawl or a chunky scarf. This is a fantastic base outfit if you know that you're going to be wearing a coat all day, like if you're going to an outdoor event in the fall. For me, if I'm in a coat all day, wearing tight on top, tight on bottom, bottom and like a pair of boots underneath my coat, it makes me feel kind of loose and free inside of my outerwear. And I like that. I prefer that to feeling like stuffed into my outerwear all day. Of course, just like the other silhouettes, this one can work at all levels of formality. For me, I find it the most useful as a base layer to showcase a scarf or a coat or a boot, especially to wear something dramatic or bulky while maintaining an overall lightness. And finally, silhouette number 4, you guessed it, the big one, loose on top, loose on bottom. This is a silhouette that I particularly love, but I admit it takes some finessing. The major risk is that it will look sloppy, and this is what you all are always saying in the comments when I talk about this silhouette. So to avoid that, the major challenge of this silhouette is to make it undeniably obvious that your choices are intentional. And for that, these are my tips. My first tip is quality materials. So a polished, chunky, oversized sweater that's made from visibly good, sturdy materials like this one, something that looks like an investment piece in a sophisticated color, paired with pants that have equal drama and quality. The beauty of the fabrics and the very obvious specialness of the garments helps to counteract the assumption that people might make when they see you that all over oversized styling is sloppy. Another tip, just like we balanced the tight outfit with statement accessories, you can balance the loose outfit with sleekness. So sleek hair instead of loose wild hair, a small sleek bag instead of a big unstructured bag, these things can help. Funnily enough, going in the opposite direction can also help, especially if you love drama. Adding volume to volume, piling it on, like a big shawl on top of a bulky sweater on top of wide leg pants, so that the fact that this is a styling choice becomes totally obvious. And when all else fails, my advice is to add a high-heeled shoe to loose outfits. A heel instantly elevates a silhouette like this by changing your posture a little bit and changing the way that the garments fall and flow around you. And a heel also signals fashion. You know, maybe more than anything else, it says, I'm doing this on purpose. I myself love the extreme drama of a massive top with massive pants. But you can also execute this silhouette with garments that are loose without necessarily being oversized. For example, a draped blouse with wide leg, high-waisted pants. I absolutely love the example outfit of this draped black silk blouse with the brown silk pants. To me, this is the perfect holiday event outfit, and I cannot wait to wear it to some sort of party. Of course, just like all of the outfits, loose works at other formality levels too. Although it might be harder to take advantage of the trick of using polish to avoid sloppiness if you're going for loose with streetwear or otherwise informal clothing. That doesn't mean it's a bad look, loose with streetwear. I mean, it can be fantastic, and it's something that I love to do from time to time as well. But if sloppiness is your main concern and your main reason for avoiding this one, maybe consider the formality level of your outfit when you're experimenting with this silhouette. This is definitely one of my personal favorites. As I've said many times, I love piling on the drama, and I also just love clothing pieces that have dramatic textures that really telegraph the quality of the fabrics. So because that is the type of thing that I love, it's the type of thing that I buy. And I've ended up with a lot of garments in my wardrobe that can be combined to create successful versions of this silhouette. Over the years, I've kind of felt out my relationship with each of the 4 silhouettes. So I do wear all of them, but I found that on me, some of them work better than others for certain occasions, and some of them work better at different formality levels than others. My personal way of inhabiting each of these 4 silhouettes has developed as a result of my style preferences, my body type, and my lifestyle. And you might have a different relationship to these silhouettes. You might find that one of them works way better than the other 3 for your lifestyle, for example, which is great because then when you go shopping, you know what you're looking for, or maybe more importantly, you know what you're not looking for. So you can totally avoid the temptations of the garments that don't align with your preferred silhouette. For me, my two favorites are number 1 and number 4. So tight on top, loose on bottom, and loose, loose. So what's interesting is that there's one type of garment that overlaps between my two favorite silhouettes, and it's the loose pants. Dramatic, loose, high-waisted pants can work for either of my two preferred silhouettes, although they'll work really differently, they'll look really different depending on what I pair them with. That's peak versatility. So when I'm shopping, I know that a pair of pants like that is going to be basically the most practical wardrobe investment that I can make. A loose top with tight pants is something that I wear some of the time, and tight, even though I do wear it sometimes, is my least worn silhouette. So I know that a tight pant or a legging is a less good investment for me personally. I have some, but when I'm tempted to buy more, that knowledge keeps me in check. And that is it. I know it's pretty simple. I mean, this is proportionizing in broad strokes, but I realize that I think about clothes like this all the time. And I think about these 4 categories of outfits all the time when I'm dressing, when I'm shopping, and I had just never mentioned it. And I wanted to bring it to you and kind of add it to our group thinking around fashion aesthetics. So I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I especially hope that it might inspire you to combine some of your clothes in a way that is fresh or unexpected for you. Over the past couple of years, I've been on a slow journey towards minimalist fashion. Both aesthetic minimalism, i.e. the way that I dress, and lifestyle minimalism, meaning how many garments I own. It's not a harsh minimalism that I've been working towards, not a punishing, moralistic minimalism, but rather a gentle simplification that has made space in my life, calmed me down, and made it easier to shop less and spend less. There are other videos on my channel documenting this process, and I'll link the relevant videos and playlists down below. In this video, I'm going to share one crucial guideline for successful minimalist dressing that has developed in me over the course of this process that I adhere to almost without fail and that I have never discussed on camera. The more I think about it, the stranger it seems that I've never brought it up because it's pretty specific and it's also pretty big and pretty doable. So in this video, I'm going to first say what it is. Second, I'm going to explain how to set yourself up to do it easily. And third, I'm going to share how I'm doing this in my own wardrobe and in my own life. Subscribe if you like it, and let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, section 1, the hot tip for looking really put together, really pleasing that I have developed alongside my minimalist wardrobe. It's this: don't wear more than 2 colors at a time. Total. So this includes accessories, socks, shoes, bags, hair clips, literally anything that is on your person. Pick 2 colors and make sure that everything that's on you is in one of those 2 colors. It's simple, but it's also kind of radical. In my opinion, it makes a huge difference. In many cases, it can make a huge difference. The difference between a just okay outfit and a striking, strong, fashion-feeling outfit that really actually showcases your personal, individual self, is streamlined to showcase your features and show off what makes you uniquely yourself. Now, it is both harder than you might think and easier than you might think. It's harder than you might think because of accessories. Like, what if your winter scarf is red? Then that's one of your 2 colors because nothing is exempt. For it to really work, for it to really be at full power, nothing is exempt. And I don't know, throwing on green shoes at the last minute after you've built a look around 2 colors that aren't green. Not to be dramatic, but it disrupts the entire balance. Not to say that you can't ever build a good outfit that way. I mean, not to say that throwing on green shoes at the last minute is never a good idea. I'm sure sometimes it's the best idea. Just within the confines of this guideline, within the parameters of this method, essentially, nothing is exempt, not even your winter scarf. And if you happen to have a red winter scarf and you happen to live somewhere where it's cold enough right now that you need to wear it every day, then that can make this harder than you think, because then red is one of your colors every day. But it's also easier than you might think because you don't have to stick to the same exact tone of each one of your two colors. So if one of your two colors is camel, like this sweater, then your outfit can include varying shades of mustard, khaki, dun, beige. There's a broad spectrum of this color, and any shade that's kind of in the same realm will work to keep your outfit cohesive, to keep your outfit, I guess, bichromatic. In my video, that classic video about wearing your clothes in a new way, there's a section about monochromatic dressing, and I discussed this concept at length there. So check that out for more detail if you haven't seen it. It's full of exciting graphs and charts. But the basic idea is that there are different ways to dress monochromatically. You can wear literally the same exact tone of the same exact color, like different garments that all look like they might have been dyed in the same vat of dye. Or you can wear different iterations of the same color for tone-on-tone dressing. And that same spectrum applies here. And because many of us are drawn towards the same color or colors over and over, it might be pretty easy for you to experiment with this for, I don't know, like a week straight, just using what's already in your closet and see how it goes. So as I love to do, I'm delivering content that doesn't necessarily need to be shopping related. It's something that you could just act on now. But I do want to take it further and discuss how this principle can actually actively inform your decision-making process when you're trying to curate a cohesive wardrobe of fewer, nicer things. Because I have found that it's not just useful when I'm getting dressed in the morning. In fact, it is the most useful when I'm trying to decide what to buy and what not to buy. So let's move on to section 2, which is how to basically shop towards this principle. First, know your colors. Choose your colors, or discern what your colors maybe already are. I suggest choosing 2 main colors, like the 2 dominant colors in your wardrobe, and then 1 or 2 accent or occasional colors, for a total of 4, maybe 5. But I think having the 2 main ones, the 2 dominant colors, is the most important principle, actually. Now, I suggest not stressing out, not worrying too much about what your perfect colors might be, but just picking a few based on what you know that you love, what you know that you love to wear. What brings you joy? What colors do you find yourself reaching for when you know that you want to look and feel your best on a given day? This might be black. For me, black is one of them. It doesn't have to be a big statement, you know? And if your wardrobe is already dominated by a color or two, don't overthink it. You already know what it is. You've already got it. So once you've figured out what you think they are, or you think that they might be, your 2 dominant colors and then your, I would say 1, 2, or 3 accent colors, the second thing that you have to do is to get comfortable with automatically not buying things if they don't come in any of your colors. Simplification is a lot about what's not there. And as I've gone down this path, I've been amazed at how frequently I omit to acquire something, how often I don't buy a thing, a truly wonderful thing, just because it's not one of my colors. If you're used to buying a lot of wonderful things, then this might take some getting used to. For some of you, it might be the hardest part because it's learning to say no, even in the face of that feeling of attraction or that feeling of desire, based on what in the moment of desire might feel like a kind of arbitrary principle. But it's crucial. You're basically trying to build a wardrobe of building blocks, a wardrobe of building blocks of color. And with such a stringent guideline, the goal of only wearing 2 colors at a time, the more you have of each of your main colors, the more flexibility you'll have when you're getting dressed. Everything will be more wearable that way. It'll be easier to mix and match. A garment in an outlying color kind of causes the system to collapse, or at the very least, you have to work a lot harder to build an outfit around it, so it gets less wear, which means that in practical terms, it's less valuable to you. Now, a quick word about print or garments that include more than one color in some way, like color blocking. My suggestion is to pick prints, if you use them, that only utilize 2 colors and they're 2 of your colors, or prints that are totally dominated by one of your colors. So if your main colors are black and blue, a black and blue print, like a black and blue stripe, for example, will be really easy to incorporate. Or a very blue dominant print, even if it has a bunch of other colors mixed in, if it's very blue dominant, that could also work. And you would just consider it to be a blue garment. So a final piece of advice, the third piece of advice about curating your wardrobe, has to do with accessories. Accessories are unique to a wardrobe in that they're worn over and over again. So shoes, coats, bags, the aforementioned winter scarf. These are things that you're always using to complete your outfit when you go out. We're often wearing the same one over and over again. So you might change your base clothing, but then you're wearing your same winter boots over and over again, day after day. So they're kind of the things that lock you in, and they're impactful. Really impactful. We tend to think of them last, but in terms of impact and frequency of wear, they should really be given the consideration of a thing that comes first. So my advice is to get accessories in one of your 2 dominant wardrobe colors instead of your accent colors, and to make them match with each other seasonally. The winter boots that you wear the most often, make sure that they are the same dominant wardrobe color as the bag that you carry the most often in the winter. Same with your summer shoes, your sandals, and your most carried summer bag, and your scarf, hat, gloves, and coat for the winter. If the accessories that you find yourself putting on all at once, most days in a given season, are all of the same color, then you'll have more room to play with the clothes that you wear closer to your body day after day. Okay, section 3. Let's move on, because I think that these principles will make even more sense with the examples from my own wardrobe. So my main colors are black and cream or white. Black is pretty straightforward, but cream/white, white has a range. Quite a wide range, actually. I feel like it can be stretched even to include dark cream, many shades of what the fashion industry calls oatmeal, and even a light heather gray. The relatively beefy white section of my wardrobe is pretty dynamic, pretty multicolored. It's like every shade of white and cream. It has the broad spectrum of tone-on-tone dressing that I talked about in that video about monochromatic outfits. In terms of non-neutral accent colors, I have camel/mustard, I guess, again, like this sweater, and terracotta/red. So when you look at my closet, you see big building blocks of cream and white, big building blocks of black, and then smaller building blocks of mustard and terracotta, basically with some dark neutrals that aren't black mixed in. So if I'm tempted when I'm shopping by a colorful pair of shoes or a colorful bag, if it's a shade of one of my accent colors, I know that I can make it work, though perhaps not as frequently as I could make a white bag or a black bag work. But if it's a colorful accessory that's totally outside of my palette, like a pair of Kelly green shoes, no matter how great it is, I know that styling it will be an effort, like a huge effort in some cases. It'll require, if I'm sticking to this principle, the whole rest of my outfit to be monochromatic. That's not impossible to do, especially with black or white. I could totally do the classic all black with a statement item outfit and make those green shoes work. And if I really, 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 really love the shoes, that wouldn't stop me. Because again, I'm not suggesting total stringency. There are always exceptions to the rule. But it does mean, and this is what I think about when I'm in that moment of trying to decide if I'm going to buy something or not. It does mean that I will end up wearing that pair of green shoes less frequently. So it's simply not as good of an investment. And that information, which is solidly true is often the push that I need, the last piece of evidence that I need to talk myself out of buying a temptingly quirky garment or accessory. Case in point, the blue Baba sweater. It's actually a blue version of a sweater very much like this one, that blue sweater that I bought last year. I knew what I was doing when I bought it. I knew that it would be an outlier in my wardrobe, a statement piece for me, an accent piece, and that it would be basically more difficult to style than anything else. I knew that it would strike a dissonant note in my wardrobe, and in that way that it would be kind of a power color. And because I bought it with full knowledge of all of those things, I don't think that it was a totally unwise decision. At least it wasn't an uninformed decision, and I have enjoyed wearing it. But the truth is, now, over a year later, the bloom is kind of off the rose, and if I could exchange that blue sweater for the same sweater in white or cream, I would do it in a second, because no matter how you slice it, it's a challenging piece for me. And I simply place a much higher value on cohesiveness, polish, cost per use, sophistication, and effortlessness than I do on the kind of wham bam kapow flashy splashiness of a statement piece, even one as genuinely beautiful as that blue sweater. I still love the sweater, but it was a real learning experience for me, a real cautionary tale. So that's kind of a negative example from my life. A couple of positive examples of shopping decisions that I've made over the past year or two that I made because of this principle are these. 2 summers ago, I bought some summer sandals and a black summer bag, and I was tempted by deviant colors for both of them and then ended up going with my dominant color. So for the bag, it's this woven leather. I was tempted by the brown or tan because it looked more summery to me and you could really see the weave better in the brown. I almost feel like the brown version of the bag was objectively more beautiful, and so I was really tempted by that. And the sandals came in black and white. And white is also one of my dominant wardrobe colors, so I was really tempted by the white pair because they're so beautiful. I went around and around, and I eventually settled on the black sandals and the black bag. Even though I really loved the white sandals, and they would have worked with my closet, even though I felt that the brown bag was maybe objectively a little bit more handsome than the black one, I got the black sandals and the black bag so that they would match and go with all of the other black that's in my wardrobe. And every single summer day since then, I have thanked my past self for that decision because I throw on those sandals and that bag so gladly, so easily, so effortlessly every time. And they always work with each other and they always work with what I'm wearing as long as black is one of the 2 colors. The white sandals would have been much harder. They would have kind of stuck in my craw. And the brown bag, I think, might have gone uncarried almost all of the time. I think it might have ended up being a dud of a purchase because even though I liked the brown one better in theory, in isolation, it just wouldn't have worked with what I have and wear. A more recent example, my winter parka. After a long search, I finally decided on a parka, and it only came in black, blue, and green. And blue and green are just non-options for me, so black was really the only choice. And I felt it was boring. I was like, everyone has a black parka, everyone has a black coat. I wish it came in taupe. I would have gotten the taupe one. But the same exact thing as happened with the sandals and bag has happened with the parka. When I put it on with all of my other clothes and accessories, with my shoes, my bag, and my clothes, I feel great. I feel so much more put together because of the choice to get it in black on a daily basis when I'm getting dressed. And this is really the takeaway. When making a purchase decision for your wardrobe, thinking about the big picture, thinking about the daily experience of composing an outfit, and not just about the single item that's right in front of you in your shopping cart right now. Thinking about what you already have and what you already wear, and being practical, being aesthetically practical. Alternate title for the video, bichromatic dressing for the aesthetically practical. So doing that, being aesthetically practical, rather than forgetting and making your purchase decision in a vacuum, not relating it to your existing wardrobe. I think that making those decisions in a vacuum is often what leads us to buy fantasy pieces or to buy pieces of clothing or accessories for the fantasy self. And I think that this takeaway where we've gotten here is is the real heart of the video and is relevant advice to you, even if the idea of wearing only 2 colors in a given outfit is crazy to you. I'm totally aware that that piece of advice or that guideline is not for everyone. I think if you're interested in minimalist styling and you're looking for guidance there, then it is a phenomenal overarching styling guideline. And if that's your situation, I really encourage you to try it. But you may not be interested in minimalist styling, or you may just not be interested in taking it to this extreme. Hopefully, though, the ideas of this video will be relevant either way, because the core of the philosophy is about thoughtfulness, being deliberate with your purchases, looking at the big picture of your style, and letting go of the myopic fantasies that can sometimes lead us to buy garments and accessories that don't work with our other clothes and that actually ultimately don't feel good to wear. No matter how many colors you wear on any given day, those things still matter. I often get questions about the nitty-gritty of the process of successfully curating a wardrobe. Like, how do you make good decisions when you're shopping for clothes? How can you actually be sure that you will like and wear the thing, especially if it's expensive? So this video is part of the answer to that question. It's one huge red flag to keep an eye out for when you're shopping. I'm going to explain the red flag to you and go over 3 situations in which it manifests, 3 danger zones, as it were. And for each danger zone, I'm going to give you the antidote, the exact path to avoiding a bad purchase. If you're new, hello, I'm Hannah. I'm a writer. I will link my book in the description box down below. And I also make YouTube videos about beauty, fashion, and consumerism. I hope you'll subscribe if you enjoy it. And now let's get into the meat of this video. Okay, the red flag is any version of these 3 poisonous little words. It could work. It could work. It could work. If you find yourself ever saying, it could work, it could work, which we say all the time when we are in various phases of shopping, various combinations of pressures during the process of trying to curate a wardrobe elicit these 3 words. And if you find yourself saying them, you might be, and I would even go so far as to say you likely are, about to make a bad purchase or at one of those crossroads in which if you can catch yourself in the act, you can avoid a bad purchase. I think these crossroads come in 3 types, 3 danger zones. And the first one is when something is on sale and it's deeply discounted, and there is such a wide gap between the original price and a sale price that the perceived value compared to what you would be paying for it if you bought it on sale is so dramatically different. It feels like such a good deal that even though it's something you would ordinarily never buy, you feel like you should. You feel like it would be wise to buy it. And you start saying to yourself, it could work. So like I'm scrolling the Net-a-Porter sale and I see a Gucci mini skirt on sale. It was originally over $1,000 and it's on sale for, I don't know, $150. That's still a lot of money, but it's a far cry from over $1,000. And here's the thing, I never wear mini skirts, but it's Gucci and it's such a good deal and it's so tempting. And I start to think it could work and imagine myself in it. I start to have that magical thinking. I start to drift into fantasy. I actually think it's the fantasy self often rearing her ugly head and leaning over and saying, it could work. It could work. So here is the antidote to this situation. Find something that's for sale full price that costs the same as the sale price of the other thing that you love. And look at that to shake the illusion of value from your eyes. So in the case of the incredibly affordable Gucci mini skirt, I go thinking about all of the other things that I could buy with that $150. Another pair of my favorite COS trousers, a belt from Ozma, that belt that I've been eyeing for months, even a Pat McGrath palette, and I'd still have money left over. Those things don't have the same wild, drunken shine to them because I would be be paying full price if I spent $150 on them. But $150 is $150, and those other things are guaranteed to work for me way, way better than a Gucci mini skirt. So I start thinking that way, and poof, the illusion is gone. And immediately I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend $150, I'm going to buy one of these things that I know that I will love and use. Danger zone number 2. This one might be the absolute hardest. The hardest hitting and the hardest to avoid. When you've bought something online and it arrives and it isn't what you thought. You pull it out of its packaging, the fabric is different than what you thought, it's not the same color in person, you put it on and it just doesn't fit quite right, but you already paid for it, it already got sent through the mail to you, it's there in your hands, it's not great, and you're holding it up or you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, guess it could work because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. No, not in this situation. Not if you're trying to curate a wardrobe of fewer, nicer things. Not if you care about quality over quantity. Not if you want to love everything you own and only buy things that you love. If you bought it online and then when you get it home and you put it on, it's something that you wouldn't buy if you were shopping in person. If you were out in the store and you tried it on in the dressing room and it would be a no, or it would be a maybe it could work, but I don't know, it's not quite right. Y'all, you have to send it back. You have to send it back. It could work has no place in this moment. And the antidote in this situation is actually a matter of forethought. You inject yourself with the antidote before you start down the path. You have to be prepared to return any online purchase before you make it. Visualization goes a long way. When you're at checkout, every time you're at checkout with an online cart, take a moment, take a pause, and imagine yourself going through the logistics of the return. Make sure you know what they are. First of all, is a return label going to come in the mail with the item? So is returning it just a matter of putting it back in the package and slapping it on and getting it into the mail? That actually can be difficult depending on where you live, how much time you have, and how far away the various types of mail pickups and drop-offs and post offices are. Are you going to have to download a return, submit a return, download a label, print it out? Do you have a printer at home or at work? Is that something that you can feasibly do? Find out what the logistics of the return are going to be. And right before you click pay, imagine yourself going through the logistics of that return and accept that there's actually a not small chance that you will be doing it, and commit to doing it if it doesn't turn out to be what you wanted in person. Then when you pull it out of the package and you put it on and it is absolutely not what you thought, you're like, oh, well, I already know what I'm going to have to do, and I knew that this was a possibility, and you don't have to lie to yourself with those 3 little words. All right, danger zone number 3. When you just want to buy something and you can't find anything great, you can't find anything that really could work, anything that you want. I've talked about this in the past, this feeling of wanting to want, getting in that mood where you want to want something because if you want it, then you can buy it. It's subtly different, kind of like wanting to buy something, but it's not quite that, because if you want to buy something and there are a lot of things that you really desperately want, but you're trying not to buy them for some reason, that's a little bit different. Having there not really be anything that you're sure would be great for you, but kind of being in the mood to scratch an itch. It's like you're in the mood to scratch an itch, but you don't have an itch, like you don't itch. That's when it could work, starts to kind of trickle into a browsing experience at a store in person, online, late at night, looking for something to really want. Nothing is presenting itself. And so you start looking at things that aren't quite right for you and saying, well, it could work. It could work. It could work, right? Because if you can convince yourself that it could work, then you can buy it. And here's the thing. I have said this before, browsing, online shopping. I am currently doing a project where I'm trying not to do that every day of the week. I'm just keeping that behavior to the weekends. And if you don't know about that and you're interested in it, click the playlist in the description box down below or click a video in the cards and you can find out more because I've made some videos about it. But in the context of that project recently, I've said browsing, I think for some of us, it is a hobby. You know, it is relaxing. It can take over, and so it's important to keep it in its place, which is what I'm trying to do right now. But that doesn't mean that it's never relaxing, never fun, and should never be done. You know. However, if you are an online browser or you like to browse in person, you sometimes like to go on a shopping trip, but you want to only buy things when they're perfect for you, when you really, really love them, then you have to separate the act of shopping from the act of making purchases. the act of buying things, because there has to be a situation in your mind, a comfortable, joyful experience of browsing without buying, shopping without buying, because it's not guaranteed that every time you go looking, you're going to find something that could work. The antidote to it could work creeping in and causing you to buy something just because you happen to be shopping, just because you happen to be browsing, the antidote to that is to learn to value the experience of shopping and then buying nothing. Browsing without buying. Learn to love that. Lean into it. Make it a thing that you do in your life. Instead of treating browsing and shopping as something that always has an end game, always has a checkout at the end of the rainbow, isn't successful unless the final destination is exchanging your money for a thing. So this one is kind of a lifestyle shift, or like a mental shift, a shift in the way that you think about your own personal shopping behavior. The antidote, it's like a pill that you take every day to keep yourself immune to it could work when you're browsing and really, no, it couldn't. So those are the 3 danger zones, the 3 situations in which it could work rears its ugly head. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope the next time it could work starts creeping up your throat and across your tongue and out of your mouth, you are able to catch it and see it and say, aha, this is one of those moments that Hannah told us about. Because for me, ever since I have put this into words for myself, ever since I brought it up into my conscious mind, I've been able to do that every time, and it has saved me a lot of grief and a lot of money. Thank you so much for being here, for watching. A couple of months ago, my mom was here visiting, and I had gotten dressed for the morning one morning, just in my regular clothes. I came out into the living room, and she was like, wow, you look nice. And I was like, thanks. And then she said something that kind of hit weird and sort of threw me for a loop, like a long, windy loop. And the more I thought about it, the more I unpacked where I've come from with my personal style and where I've arrived. And it ended up totally illuminating for me a brilliant key concept that has shifted the way I think about getting dressed. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this video. If you're new, welcome. I'm Hannah. I love talking about aesthetics here on YouTube. I'm also a writer. I'll link my book at the top of the description box down below. And now let's get into the meat of the video. So on the day in question, I'm pretty sure I remember the outfit exactly. I was wearing soft cotton trousers with a belt, a cropped, structured tee, and some nice jewelry. There was nothing on the agenda. It was the weekend. We were just getting tasks done, maybe doing some grocery shopping. So yes, I looked fairly polished, but it was a very comfortable, low effort outfit for me. And I hadn't planned it or thought twice about it. I had just reached for the most comfortable clothes that worked for the weather. And my mom, who, to be clear, I love, and she has actually been a guest on the channel. I'll link that video in the cards, and you should watch that if you want to get a really clear idea of how she is and how we're different and how we love each other just the same. And on this occasion, she said, you look nice. And she seemed slightly taken aback by what I was giving, even though she's seen my version of casual several times. And then she said, is that in case you run into one of your followers? Kind of a weird thing to say, right? And my mom, again, I love her. And to be honest, I totally understand why she said this. I was thinking through what she meant that caused the revelation that brings us here today. I had put on a somewhat polished version of casual clothing for me for a regular day. And my mom asked, is that in case you run into one of your followers? And she was sort of joking, maybe half joking. And in fact, if I remember correctly, I was like, what? And then she was like, oh, never mind. She didn't really want to explain, or she was sort of, I think maybe she thinks I didn't even hear her, but I did hear her. And I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it, not in a troubled way, right? But just because I love these kinds of thought exercises. I love thinking about style, levels of formality, what looks dressed up to people, et cetera, et cetera. I love thinking about this stuff. And I pretty quickly understood that the line of thinking was this. I'm pretty sure that the line of thinking was this. The reason someone would dress in a polished way is to go to work. And Hannah's work is making content for her viewers. Those are the people for whom she dresses. But she's not filming today. It's just regular life today. So the only reason to dress well in real life is in case she runs into one of them in real life. And the difference between my relationship with fashion and most of the rest of my family's relationships with fashion, it is actually like a point of humor for all of us. There's not tension around it. I mean, there was when I was younger. When my mom was like, why does my 3-year-old want long scarlet fingernails and what am I going to do? And I was like, who are these people and why won't they let me have long scarlet fingernails? But as I became an adult, it mellowed out totally. And now it's like, that meme? It's like the family at the dinner table all staring, saying, why are you wearing that? And then it's David Bowie and he's like, is that what it is? Okay, so it's not necessarily always David Bowie, but it's the picture of the family at the dinner table. Why are you dressed like that? And then the one that I identify with, it cuts to a picture of David Bowie and it's like what? That's how it is. Every holiday, every time we hang out, to be honest. I mean, that's what was going on. Essentially, that's what was going on this occasion. But the thing that totally gagged me about this statement from my mom this time was that thinking about it and unpacking it and tracing it all the way back to its foundation, we find the underlying assumptions. That the only reason someone would dress in a polished way is on the occasion of being seen by other people. That you need a reason to be put together, to be slightly elevated, to wear your jewels. And that reason is always other people and what they might think, or the level of propriety required by a setting designed by other people, like a workplace, for example. And what hit me like a ton of bricks is not about my mom thinking this, like having this premise, because she does feel that way about her own relationship with her clothing, and that's fine. I want her to be comfortable and happy, and I'm not here to impose my love of pleated trousers on anyone. What hit me like a ton of bricks is that I myself used to believe this premise. I used to want to wear more polished clothing every day. Or I would say I used to want to wear more polished clothing every day, but I just could not click into the mode of having it be effortless. I was hanging on to this belief that it was a waste of energy to put myself together if I wasn't going out to something or like going out into a setting that required it. And because I work from home and I work for myself, my most excellent clothes and my best jewelry were going unworn because it felt weird to get dressed well just to sit around and work in my house. And then somewhere along the way, sometime during the past 6 months or so, actually, like it was pretty recent. That's what makes this so fascinating. Somewhere along the way, I just started doing it. I get dressed in the morning. I look pulled together. I put on my jewelry. I put on my diamonds. I put on a little makeup. If I have to run out to the grocery store before dinner, if you saw me there, you would think that I had come from an office with a dress code. Somewhere along the way, it happened. I learned to dress better, not for other people, but for its own sake, for my own sake and for the sake of dressing well, for the sake of my clothes, for the sake of my jewelry. So the question of the video is how? How did it happen? How did I make the switch? And honestly, the answer is kind of granular. Like it's about specific garments. And when I trace it back, I can narrate exactly how it happened, but it's specific. I'm going to tell you though, I mean, I feel like that's what we're here to do. This is what it is. This is what happened. The beginning of it all, the beginning of the switch was when I started embracing trousers as everyday pants. Trousers as daily wear. A trouser, a kind of pant that is more like real clothes than activewear, for example, of course, more formal than denim, but I started wearing trousers in the way that most people wear activewear and denim. I started wearing them like people wear leggings, wearing them like people wear their jeans, and that kicked it all off. So let's first talk about why I think that happened. Why did I start embracing trousers trousers so wholeheartedly. I think that 3 factors converged. So factor number 1, loose-legged pants came into fashion. So there was suddenly a spectacular array of wide-leg trousers available on the market. And it was suddenly very easy to find pairs that suit me and that are affordable to me, whereas before it hadn't been. So availability of suitable wide-leg trousers. The second factor is I was feeling the desire to wear something other than activewear in daily life. However, as I said, I had been feeling that for a long time. I think that I had an increased desire to move away from half clothes or semi-clothes as I moved out of those kind of hazy postpartum days where I was just living in a robe for weeks on end. And then the third factor is that I wanted to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable. And jeans are not comfortable for me, especially for being in like a home workplace environment, sitting in an office chair, working, sitting here before you, filming. I find most jeans to be too constricting and stiff for wearing around the house. So sort of by process of elimination and sort of led by my passion for trousers, which is real, I started wearing the couple of pairs of real trousers that I had. I bought a couple of more pairs because there were some more, again, available. And it turned out that everything that I already had went with them so well. It was like all of the rest of my wardrobe had just been waiting for the trousers to arrive. So I started wearing my collared shirts more frequently. I started tucking my blouses in more. Eventually I got a belt because I realized that the lines and proportions would be more pleasing with a belt. It would make everything sing better if I had a belt. And suddenly there I was putting on pleated wide leg trousers with a belt, solid gold jewelry, and collared shirt tucked in just naturally on a random weekday, just to run errands, not even to be on camera, doing that as a matter of course. And that's when my mom showed up. And that's when I got that comment that set me off down this path of thinking like, how did I get here? So that is how I got here, sort of blow by blow, a natural evolution fueled by one specific garment, like one specific kind of clothing. But it was a natural convergence, a domino effect with the trousers and shirts and belt, etc. And what I realized on that day when my mom expressed surprise that I would dress nicely or dress that well for no reason. And I realized that I used to think that way too, but that something had changed. I had an epiphany and I couldn't wait to share it with you. Something I find truly striking. The epiphany is this. It's the same either way. Hear me out, okay? I know it might sound a little bit wild. It's the same either way if you dress in a more polished way when you're getting dressed in the morning. If you put on clothes that get you together, or you put on semi-clothes, whatever those are for you, it's the same either way. If you consider the interplay between the top half of your outfit and the bottom half, or if you don't. If you wear a great looking pant, a belt, and a gorgeous cotton blouse all day, or if you wear ill-fitting sweatpants and a stained shirt all day because nobody's coming over. It is literally the same in terms of effort because you're putting some clothes on at some point during the day. And it's just not that big of a deal and doesn't really take any more actual literal physical effort to have it so that the clothes that are there, the clothes that you reach for naturally and put on casually and go about in comfortably, are really good looking, sharp clothes. It's like, why are you wearing that? I feel like that was sort of the underlying question of my mom's comment, right? Why are you wearing that? And the answer is, these are just the clothes that I put on, the same as any clothes. Now, I've been saying it's the same because what I mean is it's not this massive effort of brain power and emotional risk to wear something nice, right? That was kind of what I'm saying. However, it's kind of not the same, but in the opposite of the way that you might think. It's the same either way to put them on, except that you feel different and then perhaps subtly act different when the clothes that are your regular clothes, your everyday clothes, are nice. I was thinking about it just yesterday because I saw my wonderful friend, Julia Frodal. She is the one who teaches the dream tending class, the compassion workshop, the meditation class, which you might already be able to sign up for. It doesn't start until January, but I will of course link her work down below and I'll link those life-changing courses. And I'll link her Instagram because Julia posted a reel on Instagram telling a story about, I hope this isn't too much of a tangent, this isn't getting too abstract, but we will bring it back, okay? An experiment with mice in a lab. Some of the mice were being tested, intelligence tests or something, and they were all the same. Like there was no difference between any of the mice, but someone went in and secretly labeled some of the mice as being high intelligence mice and some of them as being low, like low IQ mice, when in fact it was a lie, right? They were all the same. Then all of these different scientists were coming in, working with those mice, running tests on them, putting them in mazes, And what happened was that the ones that had been labeled as being high intelligence performed way better, like measurably better on all of the tests than the ones that had been labeled low intelligence. But the only variable was that the people handling them thought that they were smarter. They weren't actually smarter. The only variable. And so what it means is that whatever energy, gentleness, expectation, whatever vibe it was that was going from the researchers to the mice because they already had belief in the intelligence of the mice. Whatever that was, it was powerful enough to cause them to perform better, to access their intelligence. And the mice that weren't getting that subtle treatment of attention didn't perform as well. Truly incredible. Julia told it in a much more concise and elegant way. And I'll link that reel specifically in the description box too. But in the case of getting dressed, even when it's just me working for me, I'm the lab rat. I am my own lab rat, and I am also my own scientist. Because again, it's not about going out in the world and being treated a certain way. It's me treating myself a certain way. I treat myself better, I think. I treat myself subtly better, internally and externally, mentally and in terms of the actions that I take throughout the day. I treat myself better when I'm wearing real clothes. And how I treat myself matters way more than how anybody treats me out in the world. When I've taken the 30 seconds it takes to put on my idle earrings, even when I'm not going anywhere, even when I'm not filming, it's not just that putting them on is a kindness to myself. It's that having done that, having taken that time, creates like a setting, like a standard of care for myself, of subtle energetic care for myself throughout the entire day. And it's real. I mean, that I feel like it's real based on my own personal experiments as a lab rat, a one single lab rat in her own life. But it's also real based on the science of this actual experiment with actual rats. I used to think this thing like, I don't want to waste a good outfit on a day when nobody's coming over, or a day when I'm not going anywhere. Well, now I feel like I'm wasting a chance to wear my lovely clothes if the whole day goes by and I don't get dressed and I stay in my pajamas all day. The clothes were wasting away in the closet. I was wasting my life waiting for those rare conditions, those perfect environments in which to wear them. And that brings me to my final point, which is also quite granular and actionable. We've kind of like floated away into the clouds a little bit, and now we're coming back to the concrete reality of actual stuff and actual actions and some advice. The key to this approach actually does lie in the specific wardrobe that you build, or part of the key. Because if the only sharp clothes that you have, like the only nice clothes that you have, are fragile, dry clean only, delicate, binding, uncomfortable, then you actually do have a reason to save them for specific occasions. In my case, what I have found works are clothes that have beautiful design, silhouettes and cuts with power, but they're made from hardy, comfortable, easily washable materials. The jewelry, the idol jewelry, is a great example. Literal diamonds, right? Literally diamonds, but made with materials that can go in the shower, be slept in, don't tarnish, etc. Like, what is precious, but that can be worn in an unprecious way, because part of what makes it precious is that it's so sturdy. For clothes, examples are oversized, gorgeous linen things, cotton canvas pants, thick, chunky, 100% wool sweaters that are naturally antibacterial and anti-stink, but that can handle being hand washed in water if you need to wash them. And I'll put some links down below of this kind of thing, places that I like to shop for them. You do put effort into choosing your clothes. It's just put the effort in when you are buying them, when you're curating the wardrobe, so that you don't have to angst and put forth a huge amount of emotional labor when you're getting dressed every single day. And the key is choose things that look good, that look nice, that cause you to feel well-dressed, but that also don't have delicacy and discomfort as a barrier to your willingness to don them instantly and without question on any given day. And of course, the silhouette that works for you, or the silhouettes that work for you, might be really different from what fits those parameters for me. For me, it's really trousers. It's like real trousers are the key. I feel like everything's the key. Have I said 1,000 times in this video that things are the key? Trousers are the key. My mom is the key. Idol diamonds are the key. Real trousers are my key. But for you, it might be puff sleeve cottagecore dresses that makes everything make sense. It might be leggings every day with gorgeous handmade tunics. Maybe it's actually activewear, street style fashion activewear. Maybe that is your dressing well. As long as it's your version of dressed up, but it doesn't make you feel like you can't move in it and live in it, right? As long as it doesn't make you feel like you have to change out of it like Mr. Rogers the minute you get home from wherever you were when you wore it. So I made my way to dressing much better every day and being willing to adorn myself every day just for me. And I learned that if you build a wardrobe of clothes and accessories that are at that nexus of beauty, comfort, and durability, then it's not harder at all to wear them than it is to stay in your pajamas or in your gym clothes all day. In fact, it's just the same as putting on any old outfit, but the subtle benefits throughout the day are many. That's been my experience. And now that I am thinking about it, now that I've pulled it out of my brain and out into space and I can look at it, I'm excited to lean into it and to kind of see where it takes me from here. Thank you for being. Oh, Sadie. Sadie came to visit. This never happens anymore. Look at this little babe. Look at this little treat. She's usually very busy elsewhere in the house when I'm working. Sadie is at the nexus of beauty, comfort, and durability, don't you think? Oh my gosh, the purring. Listen. All right, I've got to go. Thank you for watching. Cat hair everywhere. Have you ever craved a simple way to make your outfits more cohesive and elegant, but still really wearable for you? Have you ever wished you could take the clothes that are already in your wardrobe and recombine them in a way that feels fresh to you? Well, buckle up, because I am here today to make a strong and detailed argument for the magical, scalable, and adaptable styling tool that is monochromatic dressing. In my now notorious video from last year, I now famously presented my graphs of the two spectrums of monochromatic dressing. The broad strokes are these. There is a color spectrum from bright colors to neutral colors, and you can dress monochromatically in any color, including neutrals like brown and black. Neutrals tend to be easier for most people. There is also a spectrum, a matchiness spectrum, a spectrum from perfectly matched separates on one end all the way to tonal dressing or tone-on-tone styling at the other end. Tone-on-tone outfits tend to be easier to assemble. Putting these two spectrums together, you get a beautiful cross-plot graph showing that there's actually a lot of diversity in the realm of monochromatic dressing. I originally made this graph to encourage those monochromatic outfit skeptics among you to tiptoe into this realm from the least intense, most beginner-friendly corner. That would be the top right-hand corner, I guess, the neutral tone-on-tone outfits. And it was met with great success, if I do say so myself, judging from the comments and messages that I got in my DMs. Lots of you tried it and loved it. And since then, I have only only grown to love monochromatic dressing more myself, to think about it more and try it out more. And now I have more to say. So today I'm going to dig deeper into some of the subtleties of these various kinds of monochromatic dressing. I'm going to share some of my updated thoughts, some images I found, and some outfits that I've put together. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So on the cross-plot graph, the most interesting direction I think here is moving along the vertical axis. Because whether you wear colors or neutrals, which is along the horizontal axis, and which exact color you choose for any given outfit along that axis, that's like personal preference. And there are no wrong answers, really. It's like anyone can wear any color. I guess that's kind of a hot take, but we'll address that in a separate video. I feel that way. Anyone can choose any color, like the color that you feel the best in, the color that you want to wear the most. On any given day, that's going to be dependent on you and how you feel about wearing color. But how you combine and layer with your chosen color, whatever it is, how you accessorize, how intense the monochromaticity of your outfit is, monochromacity? How intensely monochromatic your outfit is, that's relevant to all of us no matter what color we choose for any given outfit. So in this video, I'm going to move through 3 different places on the y-axis of the graph, and everything that I talk about on that axis will be relevant anywhere on the x-axis. So first, let's talk about the most impactful, high voltage type of monochromatic outfit, which is when the clothes that you are wearing match each other exactly. The same exact color and essentially the same texture. No matter what color you're dealing with, whether it's a saturated color like this caramel brown or a true neutral like black, in the world of monochromatic styling, very matchy outfits are the most intense, thorough, execution of the brief. And because it's so intense to have such matchy clothes, like essentially coordinating pieces, strangely, it can be the biggest styling challenge, depending on where you're coming from. Like, should the accessories match the clothes? Should they match each other? How do you modulate the formality level of something so matchy, etc.? Here's an example of a perfectly matched outfit. This sweater and skirt from Lily Silk. They're both made from ultra fine merino wool, and they're both in this gorgeous caramel color. Even though the top is lightweight and ribbed and the skirt is heavier and pleated, the fabrics are knitted with the same yarn from the same brand, the same dye color, right? It's essentially a matched set. The same goes for these black crepe de chine pants and this draped blouse. They match so well that it looks like a jumpsuit, even though it's separate. So we're talking about how to style outfits when you have 2 pieces that match this well. The benefit of a perfectly matched set like this, when the color, texture, and formality level of the garments are exactly the same, is that it's easy. You get a very polished and intentional feel. You don't have to stress, and you can wear the pieces separately at other times, mixing them with other garments, so they're highly versatile. But the prospect of wearing them together can feel like a lot to some people. So how do you style them in an unfussy way? My tip for effortless accessorizing here is to accessorize with a contrasting color. So choose a color for your accessories that does not match the garments that match each other. So you can see I didn't style the caramel set with a brown bag and shoes. I styled it with black accessories. Because the sweater and skirt match each other perfectly, adding different browns in the accessories I think would make the look feel less crisp and a little more labored. The exception to this, though, is all black. I think black accessories always go with black clothes. So obviously the black crepe de chine draped top and pants with the black shoes and bag, that looks fierce. But even with this white wool suit, and a suit is the epitome of a matchy outfit. Even with this white wool suit, I went with black pumps instead of white or cream because the matchiness of the suit is so contrived. I don't want to match the accessories too on top of that. Another thing that can soften the hard edges of perfection in a monochromatic outfit where the top and bottom match perfectly is to mix formality levels. So with this outfit, for example, the sweater and the suit pants are both ivory wool. They're both by Lily Silk, so they match exactly in color, and they're both soft woolen textures. But the sweater is more casual. It's slouchy, it's oversized, whereas the pants are the bottom half of a suit. So it's very easy to wear, even though it matches perfectly in color, in texture. The overall look is effortless. And again, the accessories contrast with the clothes, but match each other to keep it all super cohesive and clean. In this case, I feel the sweater is really the hero piece. It gives the whole outfit a sense of effortless chic, even though the shoes and the bag are so sculptural and the pants are so formal. This is honestly one of my favorite outfits of the year so far. I loved it when I put it together. I love having it on. So when you are assembling a monochromatic outfit and the clothes that are your starting point actually match perfectly, my main styling advice is to add just one other single color for all of the accessories. And my other tip is that if it's feeling too stuffy for you, try mixing two formality levels together in the top and the bottom half of the outfit. Perfectly matched clothes with mismatched formality levels, that makes a great outfit. Okay, moving up the y-axis a little bit. Another way to execute a fully monochromatic outfit with matching colors, but to breathe some life into it and some dimension, is to match the colors exactly in the garments that you choose, but vary the textures as dramatically as possible. Example outfit number 1 for this. Here, the color is black, the easiest color to play with and the least scary starting point. Just throwing that out there in case you're one of these people who's afraid of monochromatic dressing, black is a great place to start. And even though both garments are silk in this outfit, there are 3 different distinct textures in the clothing alone. The matte crepe silk of the pants, the shiny silk charmeuse of the blouse, and then the sheer silk organza of the sleeves. And you can see it's monochromatic, but it's really dimensional. In this case, I feel like the silhouette and the textures are so strong that the fact that it's all black is actually what's making it feel effortless instead of difficult to pull off. It's like effortless instead of effortful because it's monochromatic. This would be much harder to wear if the top was pink, for example. Simplicity of color allows for maximum texture drama. I'm going to say that again. Simplicity of color allows for maximum texture drama. And this is another place where tinkering with the formality level of individual garments and of the styling overall can have a huge impact. Arguably, and I love this might be my favorite point in this video, right? This might be like my favorite little nugget upcoming. Arguably, a monochromatic outfit where you match colors but mix textures is the single easiest place in your wardrobe to pair 2 pieces of vastly different formality levels. You see what I mean? Because the color cohesion kind of makes the pairing make sense in a way that pairing pieces that are different formality levels and different textures and 2 different colors wouldn't make sense. It's like, why is she wearing that casual sweater with that formal silk skirt? Well, they're both ivory. So it's an outfit, right? They go together. And then you can take this outfit into a more casual space. And when you do that, the sweater paves the way for the silk skirt to make sense, especially if you use accessories to dress the whole thing down, like a flat shoe. Or you can take this same outfit into a more formal space, in which case the formality of the skirt elevates the outfit and paves the way for the sweater. And of course, that works even better if you use accessories like heels to establish this even more firmly as formal wear, right? A monochromatic outfit where you're pairing pieces that are the same color but different textures as the easiest place to mix formality levels between pieces. And like I said before, a great recipe for an outfit. If you are trying ever to pair 2 pieces that are the same color but different textures and you're struggling because even though they aren't perfectly matched, it all still feels a little too contrived for you personally. If it's feeling too put together, try dialing it down with styling. For example, the simple act of leaving a shirt untucked. It makes an outfit less formal and makes the monochromatic aspect of the outfit feel less forced. So if you're struggling with a monochromatic outfit feeling overdone, or If the reason you never wear monochromatic outfits is that you fear you will look silly or like you tried too hard, try it, but do something to make the styling less formal. Unbutton, untuck, lose the belt, etc. And of course, you can always go with the softening trick for cohorts and reach for contrasting accessories. I love the way this white outfit looks. The blouse is crepe de chine, a matte silk. The pants are wool suit pants. Both are ivory. The colors match exactly, but the textures are really different. Of course, it looks very sharp tucked in with the black belt and shoes. I'm not arguing with that, but I could see this outfit feeling really buttoned up for some people, especially if you have only a medium formal workplace or if you prefer more relaxed styling for you. So removing the belt and untucking the shirt, but leaving the black shoes, that makes it all super wearable and somehow makes the monochromatic aspect of the clothing less conspicuous. The same is true, of course, with the black organza sleeve blouse. Removing the belt and unbuttoning the shirt, it just makes it softer. Okay, so summing all of that up, when you are putting together pieces of clothing that have the exact same color as each other, but the textures are different, you are really in a sweet spot for effortless cohesion and for mixing pieces of different formality levels together in the same outfit. At this level, I still generally recommend going with accessories that aren't the same color as your clothes and playing with styling to make the outfit cleaner or messier, so to speak, right? More buttoned up or less buttoned up, depending on who you are and what you're doing. So that's moving up the y-axis pretty much to the middle. Moving even further up to the tippy top. Finally, we're here, the big one. Let's discuss tonal dressing. I live for this. I love this. The easiest in many ways, but also for some people the least straightforward. And also for some people, I think the most intimidating, because some of us grew up with this idea that if you have two garments and they are both, say, green, but the greens don't match exactly, then if you wear them together, it's going to look weird, look like you made a mistake. Well, I am here to tell you. Let me tell you how to make it not look like you made a mistake. The number one trick here, I think, is to finally, after all we've been through today, finally incorporate the accessories into the color palette of the outfit. When you are layering different textures and tones of a single color with your clothing, you begin to get this multifaceted artistic effect. And when you start going down that path, more is better. Two different shades of brown, like the caramel sweater with Lily Silk's green silk pants, they suit each other better and make even more sense together with a brown bag, brown shoes, warm brown sunglasses, all in slightly different shades of brown. Here, there's nothing in the outfit that matches exactly, but there's also nothing in the outfit that isn't brown. No black belt, no black shoe, and those two absolutes balance each other out and make it work. Again, the two absolutes are, there's nothing in the outfit that matches exactly, but there's also nothing in the outfit that isn't brown. Those two absolutes balance each other out. Of course, it's not totally necessary to always do this when you're doing tone-on-tone dressing. It's not a hard and fast rule. I love this outfit, for example, with two slightly different shades of gray in two quite different textures, but black accessories. I mean, a dark gray bag and shoes would look amazing with this outfit, but, well, first of all, I don't have a gray bag or gray shoes. And also, in a way, black and gray are like shades of the same color, with black just being the darkest gray can go. But in any case, I think that this is an example of tone-on-tone dressing with accessories that don't match the color. That really works. But that brings me to another suggestion here. If your tonal outfit is riffing on a bright color, consider going with a neutral version of that same color for the accessories. My example here using the Lily Silk clothes with accessories that I already had is tonal red, a cherry red wool sweater with light red silk pants, and the accessories are burgundy, a darker and more neutral version of red. So there's contrast with the accessories, but they are still in the world of the outfit's primary hue. I am an especially huge huge fan of pushing the envelope for tonal dressing with the color white. When I am really going the distance, layering dark white with bright white, creamy ivory with brilliant white, I love to just keep adding shades of white, even going so far as to incorporate beige as a version of white, tan as a shade of white, oatmeal is white, even some shades of gray can be white to me when I'm assembling a tone-on-tone white outfit. And again, this is especially true if, or might only be true if, you incorporate the accessories too, if all of the clothes and accessories are in the same color family. So, recap in broad strokes. With coords, with coordinating sets, a single contrasting color for all of your accessories. With matching colors but contrasting textures, you're really in the sweet spot. Accessories can honestly be more flexible. With tonal dressing, the strongest move is to bring in accessories that are in the same color family as your clothes. But these are not necessarily hard and fast rules. The important thing, I think, and this is what I hope the takeaway from the video will be, the important thing is to have the concepts in play. So if your monochromatic outfit isn't working for some reason, play with the formality level in the styling, or switch one of the pieces out for something in the same color, but that's a more formal or less formal piece. If the accessories aren't working with it for some reason, try accessories that match the clothes instead of contrasting, or vice versa. What's going to work best ultimately comes down to the individual pieces and, of course, the context for the outfit that you're creating. But what I've found overall is that when you get into tonal dressing, tone on tone, there's more room for accessories in the single dominant color to work, especially if you go for a much darker or more neutral version of the outfit's dominant color, like burgundy accessories for red clothes, beige accessories for white clothes, etc. Thanks again to Lily Silk for providing the clothes that I used to style the outfits for this video so that I could truly, madly, deeply, finally explore these concepts on camera. I also wanted to throw in a side note about the breen silk pants, which are those unbelievably beautiful brown silk pants. I've had those pants for over a year. Lily Silk sent them to me to do a similar video last year, which I will link, of course. These brown silk pants have been such a staple for me. I wore them to holiday parties all through the end of the year last year. I wore them to the launch of my book on the day that it was published to give a reading on the stage of the Folger Shakespeare Library Theater. And I also recently took them to Palm Springs and wore them at a formal dinner with a bunch of other influencers. A true pinch hitter over the course of the year, that pair of brown silk pants. So yes, thanks to Lily Silk. Again, the discount codes will be down below. All of the pieces that I styled for this video will be linked. What a pleasure to get the chance to put these looks together. And I hope that this emboldens you to try something like this. Try your version of this in your best color at whatever spot on the y-axis of the graph works the best for you. Just try it. I love monochromatic dressing because I love it when simplicity and drama are in balance with each other in art and design. I feel like it's a hallmark of contemporary aesthetics, actually. Not minimalism to the point of something boring, not ironing all of the character out of a look or a makeup look or a piece of art, but streamlining certain aspects, like really streamlining certain aspects so that other qualities can shine. And in this case, we're streamlining the color story so that you can shine when you're wearing your clothes. I love it, but I know that it is potentially easier said than done. So hopefully this video has given you some practical tools for actually doing it. Thank you so much for watching. Hey y'all, hi. Cozy beginning of the year vibes, cozy New Year vibes. Although I had big plans to come on camera with my steaming mug of hot cocoa and be like, cozy vibes, welcome to the video. But then I got up here and I realized I still needed to put my nails on, and then I drank the whole thing while I was putting my nails on. But it was worth it for the nails. At first I thought they were unseasonal, but then I was like, what if it's like a little enamel winter flower? I've been getting some comments on my fashion videos about the level of formality of most of the imagery. And I agree with it. This is something that I've been thinking about. I'm drawn to what I call level 4 formality, like dressed up but not formal, pretty high polish, because that's the kind of vibe that I myself like for daily wear. But as per my video, How to Match Your Wardrobe to Your Lifestyle, which is about finding the formality level that you wear the most and making sure that that's the kind of clothes that you have in your wardrobe, will link. As per that video, not everybody wears formality level 4 all the time, if ever. And a lot of you mostly wear jeans. This is what you've been saying in the comments. I mostly wear jeans. I've gotten a couple of comments specifically to this effect lately. I mostly wear jeans. I wish you would share more images of people with jeans to illustrate your points. So I'm filing that away for future videos to like mix them in. But in the meantime, I thought I would do you one better and make a whole video about fresh ways potentially to wear jeans that you already have in the new year, because I'm filming this on January 1st. If you're new here, welcome. If you like it, I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll check out my book, which I'll link at the top of the description box. And let's get right into the meat of the video. Oh, I am so glad that I didn't forget to tell you what I'm about to tell you. Become Ocean, which is a meditation class that my friend Julia Frodal teaches only once a year, is about to start. The 2025 course is about to launch. I will link it at the top of the description box. I know a lot of you already know about it because I've taken the course for the past 2 years and it has transformed my life. Every time I've touched on meditation, mentioned it here and there, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is the core of it, my work with Julia and this group class in particular. So if you've heard me talking about it in the past and you've been like, oh, this isn't the right time for me, but maybe someday, and this is that day, let this be your reminder, your heads up about it. The time is now. Okay, ways to style jeans. So I'm not like a jeans. This is the thing. I don't really have any jeans. I mean, I do. I think I have one pair of jeans and I just don't wear them that often, especially right now. I bought them before I had a baby. They do fit, but they don't fit quite as comfortably as they used to. Maybe someday, but I haven't been wearing jeans, okay? I did a little bit of my own, it was like a self-education that I'm now sharing with you. First way, potentially, to wear jeans that you might not have been thinking of, cuffed with something to cover the gap. So if you cuff jeans that you've been wearing that are the right length, then when you cuff them, when you roll them up, they'll be too short or they'll be shorter. So you cover the gap. You're turning your full length jeans into ankle length pants, basically, or maybe even a little bit shorter. But cover the gap with something like a boot. The boot is the freshest way, I think. This looks amazing. Like, look at these images. This silver boot, this very cuffed jean with this silver boot going all the way up and covering the gap. These white boots going all the way up and covering the gap. That to me is very exciting and something, if you have a slightly taller boot and you have a jean, you can do it. You can do it tomorrow. I also see this executed in a slightly less formal way, like with Chelsea boots and then socks covering the rest of the gap. This is especially a good option if you live somewhere where you have to wear hiking boots or snow boots basically all the time, or if your formality level on a daily basis is lower, more a 3, less of a 4. Cuffed with a sock covering most of your ankle also looks incredible in a high fashion way, like with heels. I saw a lot of images of cuffed or rolled jeans with a lot going on in the ankle area, sock-wise and shoe-wise, and I'm really here for that. Makes me want to wear jeans, or try this with my non-jean pants, actually. Okay, adjacent and overlapping. A way to potentially style your jeans that you might not have thought of. Call me crazy. Okay, wild suggestion, with heels. Jeans with heels. Now, I know that some of you are probably out there wearing jeans with heels all the time already, and some of you are out there probably never wearing heels, again, on the grounds of sticking to a lower formality level potentially. But there are probably some among you who have heels that you don't usually wear and jeans that you very often wear and might be excited by the suggestion to put them together and just give the jeans a little bit of a facelift, you know what I mean? Or give yourself a way to wear the heels that you don't usually wear because you don't usually think of them as going with your outfits. So if you have like one pair of, I don't know, slightly heeled boots or booties and you're like, oh, you just save them for when you're wearing dresses, try wearing them with your jeans and see what happens. Poking around Pinterest, I saw a lot of jeans looking really fierce with heels. And I especially saw a lot that were the combination of the first two, right? The cuffed jeans with a heeled boot or a heel with a sock to cover the gap between the foot and the cuff of the jeans. The third suggestion, and more radical, this one, maybe a little bit take it or leave it. I know it's kind of controversial, but I've seen a lot of really beautiful, comfortable, wearable outfits that also have a slightly fashion edge that are coming from people wearing jeans with more denim. The third way to kind of upgrade your jeans, wear them with more denim or something very close in color, something kind of denim-like, but mostly these images that I'm seeing, it's denim on denim on denim, my friends. This stunning image, actually, this outfit combines denim on denim with the cuffed suggestion, although these jeans are clearly too long for the model, so they're cuffed. There's still not a gap, right? They're still sitting right on top of the shoes, but I love that, right? I love this cuffed jean, but no skin is showing between the shoe and the jean. So that was suggestion number one. And we also have denim on denim. And I also would like to note that this outfit is 3-bean salad. All we have are these three pieces, the denim top, the denim jeans, and the sneakers. That's all that is showing. That's part of the power of this image. A lot of really stunning images of a denim shirt with denim jeans that are either the exact same color or quite different colors, which is cool, especially when the outfit is pretty simple. So I see some that don't have coats that are just denim shirt and denim pants, but then also with like a long coat thrown over, it can be really beautiful. A dramatic coat over, especially a matched denim shirt with denim pants, makes it feel, I think, more intentional, actually, even more striking. And I also saw a lot of the opposite, a denim jacket with jeans, and then the shirt made out of a different material. So kind of switching like where the matching happens. But again, it's like this sense of layering, casually layering the same fabric. It's a monochromatic feel, but without it being a fully monochromatic outfit, because there's often like an overcoat to break it up. I've never been so convinced, as I am right now after all of my recent image browsing, I've never been so convinced about wearing denim together with denim. I think it can look really, really beautiful. And I also feel like because there's a bit of a stigma against it, some people feel like it's not the thing, or they feel like it reminds them of something. Even though the outfits look really good, the concept, they object to the concept. I'm not that into that. I'm like, let's take the outfit at face value rather than labeling the concept and just rejecting it out of hand and then not using your eyes to see what is before you. I'm against that in general. It's like where all of the world's ills stem from, right? It's doing that. Let's not do that, you know? But I feel that even though denim on denim kind of has that edge of people objecting to it out of hand, it's almost like that means that there is sort of that ugly, beautiful quality to a lot of these outfits. It is edgy because it's like pushing back against that rejection, and that gives them even more of a frisson of power. I just really into it. I don't have a denim shirt, do I? I don't think, no, I don't have anything that I could do. I don't have, okay, what am I even talking about? I don't even have jeans. I have one pair of black jeans. It's not for me, okay? I would have to go and buy an entire denim outfit. Oh no, I do have those dark blue jeans from Ozma, the denim field pant. I don't have a shirt, but I'm one step closer to being able to try to wear an outfit like this. I want to do it. I have convinced myself. Denim, no. Denim on denim, yes. Okay, fourth way that you might not have been wearing your jeans. I know some of you already are, but you might not have, because this was me just mere months ago with a belt. Wow, that pile of sentences, that sentence salad really got out of hand. I, mere months ago, was not ever wearing a belt. I didn't even own a belt. And then I got one and I started belting my trousers, and it's just like transformative for an outfit. Really amazing. And not too intense, right? Again, if you want to stick to a slightly grungier formality level, if you don't really want it to go to that level of polish, a belt still fits with lower formality levels and with more casual styling, if that's what you feel more comfortable in, but elevates the styling, elevates the execution, right? Makes the styling really sing, even if you are less formal, even if the level of formality of your singing styling is lower. Okay, so a more successful level 3, for example, a belt could totally belong. And so many of these images, it's the belt. It's the belt that's making the jeans so fresh. It's making them feel a little newer. You know that feeling of a new thing? In general, I like to put energy into still cherishing my older pieces of clothing, for example. I am always working against the obsession with brand newness and working towards older things being more valuable because they have aged. You know, I just think in general, that's like a mindset switch that is it's really important to retain sanity in this capitalist world, and be able to make better choices. But that feeling of something when it's new to you, when it's a little bit of a style exploration, you've never worn anything like that before, and you get a new garment and it's ooh, you just feel a little a new version of yourself, a little brand shiny new version of yourself because you are newly wearing that garment. There is a kind of a shine that comes from that experience that's undeniable. And I feel like one of my challenges with my wardrobe is to retain that shine even as garments age in my closet. And the only way to do that is with styling. Actually, take that back. There are two ways. I should make a whole video about this. One way is to put stuff away and then get it back out again. So put it away, forget about it, and then get it back out again, and then it feels new again. And the other way is with styling. And in this case, I think that adding a belt to jeans when you haven't previously been wearing those same jeans with a belt, it gives the whole pant, and by extension the whole outfit, that glow of freshness and newness. I see that in these images of belted jeans. Oh my gosh, a moment for this denim on denim look with the green sweater over the shoulder. I know we're going back one, but I meant to talk about it directly and I didn't when we were in the denim on denim section. Look how she's wearing this sweater, like a scarf or like a jacket over the shoulders. The green sweater draped over the shoulders, that's what makes this look, right? This denim on denim, I mean, it would be beautiful even without it, but that's what, it's it adds an extra element that makes the matched denim that she's wearing feel more doable, more wearable and less harsh, because that green sweater is drawing a lot of visual attention to itself. It's adding a significant level of texture that wouldn't otherwise be there. So it stands out in this image. This is the thing. She's wearing it like a scarf, like a cape. It's there if she needs it, if she gets cold. And when it's not there, it's there like a backpack. I love it. I want to do this. I want to wear a sweater on my back with just the arms dangling down. When you first look at it, it looks really normal. It doesn't look weird. It looks yeah, wow, here she is with her sweater draped over. But then if you look at it for a little longer, it's what is she? She has draped her sweater over her back and dangled the arms down on either side of her neck. I've never done that. I've never even thought about doing it, but it looks amazing. I think it looks amazing. Okay, another way to wear your denim, to give it a new lease on life in the year 2025, is with something quite formal or statement. Case in point, this ruffly blouse, this blouse that's basically just two big ruffles. That's all it is. It's where is the blouse? All I see are these ruffles, totally transforming the experience of wearing these jeans. This is something you likely can do, right? You very likely can do. Mixing high and low formality levels with the jeans being the low and a blouse or a piece of jewelry like this one. Here, the t-shirt is a low formality level, right? It's a 2 or a 3. She's wearing jeans. You can barely see them, but she is. Then this coat, which is pretty statement. But the thing that stands out to me is the pearl choker, this very statement costume jewelry necklace. You might have something like this, again, for dress up, for formal occasions. You might never have thought to put it with jeans, and that could be your outfit tomorrow. Okay, sort of adjacent, sort of overlapping, but not really. And this is a huge standout category of its own in the world of really beautifully balanced fashion imagery of people wearing jeans. Jeans with a blazer. I see it everywhere. I'm seeing it absolutely everywhere. And I'm saving a lot of images of this because it always looks so good. And a lot of the images that I've already shown of the denim being worn with a belt, with heels, cuffed with a boot that comes up over the ankles, all of this stuff, there's also a blazer because people are always just putting a blazer on no matter what when they're wearing their jeans. At least that is my impression. It looks so good. Again, this is a bit of a mixing high and low with formality levels. Again, it's something that you might be able to do with what you have or with someone else's garment. I still don't really have a blazer, even though I've been wanting to try wearing one for years now and just, really give it the old college try and see if I like it. I'll do it in 2025, okay? Additional New Year's resolution. I just filmed a Patreon video talking about my actual New Year's resolutions. Addendum, I'll get a blazer in 2025 and I'll give it the old college try. But I could borrow one of Joe's blazers and wear it with my one pair of jeans if I were so inclined. A lot of these blazers with jeans are oversized. Oh my gosh, they just look so good. The blazers with the denim, it just looks so good. And again, kind of adjacent, overlapping. It's like the Venn diagram, right, of things you can wear with jeans. Try wearing your jeans with something very long or oversized. This could be a blazer. Some of the blazers are this way. But what I mean is like oversized enough to come halfway down your thighs, like all the way over your bottom. So everything about the top part of the jeans, the waistband, the back pockets, the zipper is covered. It's not part of your outfit. And the jeans, therefore, the denim element is very streamlined, is simplified because the busyness of it is kind of covered up. Some people don't think to do this because it's bunchy and clunky. Like the upper part of the jeans, the pockets and the belt loops and the zipper and stuff is bulky. So the idea of wearing like a tunic over it maybe is a little bit counterintuitive because it's like, oh, it's going to show as lumpy. It's not going to flow. We tend to think of like wearing a tunic or something over leggings, something that's really skin tight. I encourage you to try an extra long sweater or a very long blazer, or I saw one a t-shirt, like an oversized shirt. This is a really beautiful example of an exciting outfit that showcases denim with a long shirt that comes all the way down to the tops of the thighs, but it's not high polish. There's a lot of style here, but it's not formality level 4. Oh yes, this blazer with a vest over it coming down quite long. If you have something that you wear that's long and oversized, but you usually wear it over a different kind of bottom half of your outfit, try it with your jeans and see what that does. Try thinking of your jeans as just the bit of pant that sticks out the bottom rather than the focus, the main affair in the outfit. So those are some potentially exciting ways to style jeans. Cuffed with something to cover the gap, with heels, with more denim, with a belt, with something statement or formal, with a blazer, with something very long, oversized, or all of them. You could totally do all of this all at once. I feel like some of the images I showed you were of someone doing all of these at once, or at least multiples of them at once. I feel very inspired. I wish I had jeans now. I wish I had more than my single pair. I do think that one of the reasons that I don't try harder to find jeans that work for me is that I'm so into like a sleeker, more streamlined, monochromatic, formality level 4 type outfit. And so it's harder for me. I haven't really conceived of denim in this kind of elevated way or this more exciting way. But now, preparing for this video, I have. And it opens my mind a little bit to the possibilities of denim. I hope it's done the same for you. I hope this has given you something to go on if you're one of those people who enjoy the fashion content, but you usually wear only jeans. You're trying to figure out kind of how to put all of those pieces together. And I'll come back soon with some more fashion content that addresses different formality levels. I make all of these YouTube videos about fashion and style, and I'm often dealing with essentially the question of how and why to dress well, even in the face of that which is trying to cause us to dress badly. Everything from the practical and granular, like sloppy fast fashion garments that inevitably make you look frumpy, all the way through to the big picture creative issues, like a lack of vision about your style or a lack of bravery to manifest it. So imagine how my interest was piqued by this comment on one of my recent videos. I blinked my eyes and suddenly I have 3 little kids, live in a small town, and work from home. I'd love a video on how to cultivate personal style when your lifestyle is painfully casual. I want to feel stylish and put together, but almost everything feels like too much when all I do is pick the kids up from school, go to the park, and grocery shop. How to cultivate personal style when your lifestyle is painfully casual. How indeed. I've been meditating on this and I've come up with a 3-step method that I think will work. That's what I'm going to share in this video. If you haven't watched my channel before, I hope you enjoy it and I hope that you will consider subscribing. I'll also put a link to my published book at the top of the description box down below. And let's get right into the meat of the video. So step 1 to cultivate personal style when your lifestyle is painfully casual. Step 1 is to gather inspiration in a specific way. You should have 2 buckets for visual inspiration, for saved imagery, one for fantasy and one for realistic inspiration. I love to use Pinterest, so I'll use Pinterest as an example. You should have one fantasy style Pinterest board and one Pinterest board to which you only save totally realistic realistic inspiration, like things that would really make sense for you to wear in every way. This accomplishes so many things. It accomplishes so much internally with the development of the eye, the development of the sense of self, and helping you really think about your identity in an abstract way. So much that I can't even unpack it all here. But what I will say is that by doing this, by having these two different Pinterest boards or two different buckets of images, you get used to telling the difference between what you like in theory and what you actually want to imitate. And that on its own is going to be invaluable. But you can take it even a step further. For the fantasy looks, for the things that you recognize you don't actually want or plan to directly imitate, you can ask yourself, is there a version of this that would make sense in my life? And what would that look like? Like, what would that exactly be? So this helps you to hone your vision, to sharpen your eye so that you're not just casting around blindly, but it also trains you to catch yourself in the act of an unproductive fashion fantasy or a non-viable fashion fantasy, and then either translate it into viable fashion inspiration for your life or let it go. So here's a concrete example from my own life. I find myself often pinning images of sculptural materials forward handbags. They tend to have palpably amazing leather and visual interest. I crave handbags that have this shockingly sculptural, almost cheeky quality to their silhouettes. But in real life, for a bag to really get use from me, I know a few things. One, I have to be able to shove a diaper and a packet of wet wipes and a kid's water bottle into the bag at the last minute on top of all of my stuff as I'm running out the door. So if it's too small and if it's not accommodating, it won't work. Two, I usually need the option of a crossbody strap these days in case I'm pushing a stroller or pushing a grocery cart or just doing any number of other things that require both of my hands and arms. So if it's handheld only, it won't work. And this is a little bit subtler and something that I've learned over time, kind of visually and artistically. I've learned that if a bag is too hard, if it's sort of too solid in its shape and the edges are too sharp, it tends to read as super formal against the flowing fabrics that I usually wear. Like formal to the point of feeling a bit off or out of place for a regular day for me. So it's something that I might deploy for evening wear, but for a regular day, it never feels right. I have some quite structured sculptural bags that I love in theory, but in the day-to-day, I tend to overlook them in favor of what I would call soft structure. So I still feel inspired by the spirit of all of those fantasy bags that are saved on my Pinterest board. But for actual use in my wardrobe, pieces like, for example, the Songma Gather bag make a lot more sense. They have sculptural artistry, but they are organically a lot more wearable for me. So it's like, what is the practical version, both logistically and aesthetically, of the fantasy? By separating my fantasy inspiration from my practical inspiration, I can hone in on what I want, what I need, and what is both, what will actually work. Okay, so that's step one. Step two for building personal style when your lifestyle is painfully casual is when you are shopping, don't settle. Don't settle for practical instead of stylish. And don't impulsively spring for stylish to the exclusion of practical. Build a wardrobe out of pieces that are at the intersection of what inspires you and your practical needs. So instead of going, OMG, that sequin blazer is so amazing, I have to own it because it's so me, it's so my fantasy, and then buying it and never wearing it, and then wearing your, not to call you out, but your North Face fleece every day, go the other way. Approach it from the other direction. I need a jacket for transitional weather in my daily life where I live. What's the stylish version of that? What's the version of that which is totally practical, makes sense in my context, and also elevates whatever else I wear with it and brings my overall wardrobe closer to my aspirational style instead of further away? I need a new pair of shoes. I need them to be comfortable, practical, practical, etc. What is the standout style knockout version of that? Maybe for you, it's like sneakers, but they're lime green. They have gold on them. They're platform. Maybe they're quiet luxury. They're monochromatic suede. Either way, whatever it is for you, don't settle in that moment for something that doesn't align with your inspiration. And don't get so excited about something stylish that you forget about your practical needs, because then you won't wear it, and then you'll end up wearing something random and unstylish instead. The third step to cultivating a personal style when your lifestyle is painfully casual is, I love this one, put getting dressed into your schedule. And you have to put it in your schedule wherever you have time, enough time, which for some of us isn't the morning. Like there isn't enough time to get dressed, or there isn't enough time to decide what you're going to wear in the morning in between taking off your sleepwear and going out the door. There isn't enough time. So you have to put it in your schedule somewhere else. This could be the night before, composing your outfit in the evening, having a little closet playtime. One of my favorite things to do at night after my toddler has gone to bed. I can be seen some nights up here in the other part of my studio, which is where I film fashion content, just testing out some outfits for, 15 minutes before I get ready for bed. It could be something that you do for the whole week, like in one huge chunk on Sunday afternoon, a closet playtime bonanza during which you plan out what you're going to wear for the next 5 or 7 days. Make outfit planning your creative me time. Like think of it as one of the things that you do to unwind, to feel good. Make it your me time whenever it fits in, and then maybe get creative about when that has to be. Carve out the time for yourself. I have famously said that it's the same either way, meaning that whether you dress well or dress poorly, it's kind of functionally the same either way, because either way you put on a shirt, you pull on your pants, right? You put the clothes on physically either way. So in terms of the fact of the matter, whether you put on a nice shirt or a terrible shirt, it's kind of the same either way. But to develop style, you sometimes need time to consider what you'll wear and psych yourself up. So step 3 is actively make that time. If you do those 3 things, you will inevitably develop your personal style, even if your lifestyle is painfully casual. And for some, it must be said, there might be a 4th step, which is pushing through the resistance, pushing through the membrane of normalcy that has formed around you, trapping you in your leggings so that every step outside of that feels not normal. You might plan an outfit, get up the next morning, go to put it on, and then meet internal resistance. Or you might put on that outfit, go about your life, and meet external resistance. Like people saying, oh, you look nice, in that way that actually means why? Like, why did you try? Which is an attitude that probably comes from a place of annoyance that you've made an effort and they haven't. All of that, you have to just push through. This is your life. Do you want to practice the art of style, or do you not want to? You don't have to. But if you do want to, you can't let, what RuPaul calls your inner saboteur hold you back. And you can't let other people's judgment and insecurity hold you back either. I saw this amazing image on Instagram the other day. I'll put it up on the screen. You're overdressed. For what? For my one wild and beautiful life? I think not. If you find yourself telling yourself that you are overdressed, if other people are implying that you're overdressed, for what? I think not. And then it may be that if you just push through and continue to wear the things that you, for some reason, want to try wearing, that feeling will drop away. You'll get used to it pretty quickly, and then other people will get used to it too. And then you'll be there. And it might be that you don't get used to it, that a couple of weeks go by and you realize you need to recalibrate a little bit to feel really good in your skin. That is part of the development process of personal style. But unless you take the plunge and push through, the wheels won't start turning. So I hope that this has been helpful. I just say it's highly relevant to me. Even though I work in style and I have a really great reason to get dressed and to kind of get done up, which is to create imagery for you, to be on camera. In other ways, my lifestyle is painfully casual. And I'm always reckoning with this question, like how to make it make sense. What level of formality is both artistically gratifying and comfortable on a practical level. I think a lot of us are in this boat, and it has been such a joy to be able to speak to that today. So thank you to the original commenter. Thanks to all of you for watching, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.